players to have to play more naturally and just use their intuition to understand what's going on and problem solve in the game, because you haven't practiced it 1,000 times like you would have done without Fearless.
It was slow and methodical, but it was step by step, just like Gen G does, just like Gen G likes. And at first strike, Gen G struck first against G2. They are up 1-0 in our second semifinals as we try to figure out who will take on AGAL to become the second ever game winner here at the Esports World Cup for League of Legends. Welcome back, everyone, to the SDC Arena. Degon here alongside Valdez and Finn. Y'all, you heard Finn in that last series give a good cast. Give it up for Finn, everyone. All right, so Finn, you wanted to dive right on into the draft, so let's do that here as Gen G had a pretty solid plan against what G2 had.
I mean, I feel like Gen G just drafted what they usually do in LCK. If you watch LCK, you've seen these drafts thousands of times. And I feel like G2's response wasn't really adept. I like the Maokai pick. I really enjoyed that for Scuman, one of his best champions. But I have questions regarding the Jace pick. G2 was criticized for not really playing Jace all year. And now, when Jace is kind of fallen out of favor, now they decide to bring it back into the Gwen. When the tools like Jax, who's, I think, BB has been very good on this tournament, was up and available. And I feel like the Jace didn't really accomplish what you want that champion to do. He was kind of getting pushed in early, and then he was kind of playing catch, kind of getting dictated by Gen G's tempo usage and the early game swaps. And he was really struggling to find a foothold in a game that was severely Gen G dictated.
Yeah, I think they just really didn't have that much pressure on the side of G2. And then you look at the Smolder in game one for Chovy. It's one of his key champions that he always brings out. And it was just free. He was sitting there farming the whole time. Wolf was talking about it. He just got to do whatever he wanted. They had oodles and boodles of damage as well, with the Gwen getting super fed. The whole draft was very classic LCK, as Finn was talking about. And Gen G just looked awesome there.
Yeah, let's take a look at our first highlight here as both junglers kind of waiting till level 6 to have the type of impact that they wanted. The Maokai, the Skarner, and it was this huge 3-man impale by Canyon, the former world champion, setting the stage for the first blood.
I mean, really living the Scorpion dream, catches Yone at the back end of that ult, and here G2 just went for play after play. This 2v2 top lane jungle didn't really end up working out. BB, you see, he wants to dive this. Labrov is about to walk out, so he's a little bit late, and in the end, Duro cancels his recall, and they don't have the damage quite yet, not quite the item components that they need to really get that burst damage onto Keen.
And Valdez, this is the type of thing we see teams attempt against Gen G, but as soon as there's a moment of hesitation, they are so good at punishing against them.
They punish better than any team in the world. They are just so crisp, so clean. You give them an inch, they identify it immediately. It's almost robotic. They are right on you immediately. And G2 never got an angle in this early game.
Yeah, let's take a look at our second highlight here. Again, more Gen G taking control of the game as you hear G2 step onto the stage.
Yeah, so here G2 really wants to contest this dragon. They want to use the Maokai saplings, but they get baited by this Herald on mids. Canyon drives it in, and the Deadly Flourish connects onto Scumon and then gets CC chains. Labrov tries to kind of angle to help Scumon, but ends up being the target of the engage himself. And now when you lost your engage support, you just have to give the dragon. But that was really the point. G2 wanted to get a dragon. They wanted to use the Maokai saplings to kind of poke them as they walk into their control, but missing that opportunity, I think that was when the nail really hit the coffin.
Yeah, let's put the exclamation point here on it in game number 1 with our third highlight here. Gen G really in control of all this, and they're able to absorb the pressure that G2 put around the Drake.
Just a beautiful surround here from the side of Gen G. Canyon's right over the wall. He knows how fed and how tanky he is. He just tanks everything, allows Keen to get the perfect flank, and immediately you just have the damage follow up. Chovy's not even there for the beginning of this fight. It just doesn't matter. Gen G are so far ahead, and it was just lights out once again from Gen G.
G2 now select the blue side here for game number 2. Finn, kind of give me your thoughts here, given the fact that they went a little unorthodox in the top lane. They went Maokai in jungle. I feel like there are things up here.
Okay. Yeah, we hit pause.
Okay, pause.
Take a deep breath.
Deep breath, everyone. G2 side, deep breath.
and we'll look towards the future.
Okay.
A lot of the power picks are still up and available. There was a lot of mid lane bans, and I expect us to see a really similar draft phase with all these mid lane bans being taken out. Desir, the Talia, I don't think they'll get through, but I think most likely what we're going to see G2 hone into Skumon and try to find him in early skirmish jungle, because I really feel like he needs to get a foothold in this game. If the jungle is not really facilitating the lanes, it becomes really hard to play the map and really hard to really propel the game forward. And we need Skumon to be comfortable. The Maokai didn't work out, so we gotta try one of the other picks, like the Xin Shao or the Wukong, I think.
Yeah, we've seen what happens when these junglers that dictate the tempo don't get going. We saw it in last series. Tarzan was able to stifle Owner. Here, how does Gen G slow down G2 and book their ticket to the grand finals?
It's, I think it's Gen G are in the driver's seat right now. You know, I think for G2, they need to pull out something. I'd really love to see Caps on something like he's played earlier, like a Syndra, like a LeBlanc. Try to throw Chovy off, because Chovy, again, he just got the free laning phase, the free game. He needs to be pressured. They need to do something about Canyon as well, as Finn was talking about. There are a lot of questions to be answered here.
Now we're standing next to the game trophy here for League of Legends, but this isn't the only one that's on the line this weekend as we send it on over to Free Fire.
Hey everyone, we are currently at the Kadia Esports Arena where I've stumbled across Free Fire. Please introduce yourself to us.
Hi, my name is Gideon Q. I'm with Free Fire. I'm one of the panelists for the show.
That's super duper cool. Nice meeting you. And of course, talk me through today's games, because I heard you guys were in the semifinals right now.
Yes, we are in the semifinals. Players are going to be battling out to try and get as many points as possible for our championship happening tomorrow, our very own grand finals. It's just to give them a little bit of edge before we get into it.
And of course, because it is the championship weekend, we have both the semifinals and grand finals for both Free Fire and League of Legends. So keep your eye out for it, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you very much, Kitty. It is game winners to be crowned here, and it will be a new one in League of Legends, as it was T1 falling earlier to AGAL, already waiting in the grand finals. Valdez, is it going to be a Gen G AGAL finals here?
I think based off of what we saw in game one, you know, just like T1 unfortunately fell super easily to AGAL, I would say that G2 might suffer the same fate here. I think Gen G have their number, and it should be a 2-0 tonight.
All right, Gen G fans, let me hear you. 2-0 for Gen G. Finn, you got 20 seconds to get this G2 crowd riled up. 20 seconds.
G2, you have Europe behind you. Play with confidence and pick your champions and play your game. You are better than them and you can beat them.
G2, let me hear ya! The STC Arena is rocking as we get ourselves to game number 2. Will it be Gen G or will it be G2?
Thank you so much, Tigon. I loved the little rhyme, or is it a rhyme when it's like rhyming 2 with 2? I'm not entirely sure, but it was very, very cute nonetheless. It is time for game 2, and we'll see whether Gen G can make it a 2-0, or whether G2 can come back. Man, there are so many 2s in all these sentences. It's kind of ridiculous.
You love to see a smile on Caps' face after a crushing loss like that, where, you know, he got outranged by Chovy. Chovy just outplays him in the early game, and then he gets free stacks. They had that really cool skirmish with Canyons and Pale early. Things went really well. I think we're going to have to see a big change up here in draft. Remember, against BLG, Caps pulled out that LeBlanc pick, right? And that was series defining. He crushed Knight so hard in the lane that Bejuan couldn't even play the game, right? Something like that is what we might need to see here from G2. They have blue side now. The Azir was
they
not
had blue side in game 1.
I know. They have blue side again.
All right. So they now also have blue side.
But, like, some of these picks are gone, right? So picks like the Azir stock goes up quite significantly. See if the Talia is left open, as we see a big change up here with the Rumble ban for G2 in this second game.
Yeah, it's going to mean that it's not 100% Chovy bans on the side of G2, giving that Rumble a look in as the Lee Sin. Taken away from Canyon, one of his most impressive champions, but a surprising ban here, as the Azir still left up, the Vi and the Talia going to be the options that these teams are playing with.
I think banning the Azir is still the safest bet, but it is Caps, after all, who might have something else prepared, as it instead is going to be a ban towards Humon's Jarvan. in this one, which gets a big laugh out of Dylan Falco there. So the first pick is going to look to be is Trundle is strong into so many of the available jungles right now. Like, it's going to make you feel pretty good into Xin Zhao. If Gen G wanted to go for a Sejuani draft here, it is also going to be incredibly powerful into that, so that's not really an option anymore. And even with the Taliyah still up, they're looking for this Azir for Chovy, a pick he's so known for. Every LCK mid who's ever called themselves an elite, an LCK champion, is known for their Azir. And of course, Chovy is the strongest of said mids right now, and will be confident enough to lock this one in. The question is, what comes with it?
Is it going to be the jungle pick? Does Canyon just take something that he's willing to play into the Trundle?
I mean, I think Xin Zhao is still playable into Trundle. You don't feel great about what Trundle can do to you, but it is strong elsewhere. The Vi, not as affected by that Subjugate, and works really well with so many different other follow-up champions here. It can be a pseudo-dive composition here with a strong side-laning Azir, and they do end up just taking that one away.
Okay, so now G2 are going to show us what they had prepared. When you pick the Trundle this early, you do have the opportunity to go towards whatever tank you would like towards that top side. It's going to be the Annie in the mid lane, and there is a Renekton. So in fact, no tanks to be picked up here by G2. They are going pedal to the metal, keeping up the aggression, as the Renekton has been pretty good this tournament, I have to say. Gives a little bit of that Shuriman flavor over to G2 as well. And Gen G, they are staying in the deserts of Shurima themselves. As the Keen Sante looking to be honest, coming in.
I feel like a lot of people will be shocked to see the Keen Sante because the Trundle is on the other side, but
and in fact, it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen, but I actually thought that's what he was going to pick because it's just so safe into the Renekton, and in the laning phase, you're not going to be interacting with that Trundle anyways. Feels pretty good into the Annie, but they pivot, and this draft has a lot of power with the Vi. There's a lot of really strong mid-game here. We talk about the late-game Azir, the side-laning Azir all the time, but because of his ultimate, it can be quite powerful in mid-game fights with a composition like this where you can cut the team in half and split somebody off. The Vi follows up, the Aatrox follows up. Picks like the Kai'Sa, I feel like are really strong, even though we haven't been the biggest fans as the LCK casters here at this event of the pick for Gen G, because you already have a ton of magic damage in this comp. You could go into the AD variant, you could follow up on the mid-game power of this draft so well.
And there's also the fact that, I mean, the cease and desist, very single target, right? The Kai'Sa is able to follow up on anyone you choose to go in on. But I think that the combo that they are already representing with the Azir and the Vi is just something we've never really seen. Because these are two first-pick champions, Wolf.
Yeah.
And they're on the same team right now.
They do leave the Xayah up, Gen G do, here for Hans Samba to potentially take. We've seen him be such a menace on this pick throughout EWC 2025, but see what it does eventuate here, as we could see a Kai'Sa bandit come through. I think Ezreal is also still really strong into G2's comp because you can stay away from the Renekton, you can stay away from the Annie, you can just shift away from the pillar.
Oh, I was expecting
similarly strong,
actually, because Rakan's so good for Gen G, but G2 may be hoping that that is not going to be the decision. And a cow is a possibility, right? And Alistar is definitely a big one, but I think just picking an R4 Rakan just feels so good for Gen G because it goes so well with so many things.
There's so many different options here for Gen G. Like, I feel like if you go Ezreal, you go for the Rakan. If you go for even a Kai'Sa, like all of these things work well. The Alistar gives you even more robust mid-game power because of how tanky he is in those fights, and you now have a front line because before everything else of this draft is relatively squishy. And, the Alistar is just going to be happy to go into the front line of this Annie, happy to eat a Tipper stun so that the rest of the carries can go in and follow up.
Yep, and that's the one tank that doesn't get worried about the Subjugate as well. As the Xayah Rakan is given over, and this is the danger that you had on the side of Gen G, is that you were staring down the barrel of a Lovers duo, which is understandable. That's a Zeri for Rulers. That'd be a fun one.
Iconic Zeri. Azir, so much late game team fighting power.
That's a Vayne.
That's not what he's playing, so don't worry, everybody.
Yeah, let's see what Duro does decide for Rule here. 5 seconds to go. Is Sivir going to be the consideration? Certainly a lot of AoE and a bit of that Shuriman flair.
How do you get on top of this Sivir and Punisher is the question that G2 is going to have to answer, because The Azir is super safe, right? Has the Shurima Shuffle they could use to engage, but also can just use the Emperor's Divide defensively. The spell shield here for this Sivir makes it really difficult to lock her down. Even Annie could have a tough time actually stunning Ruler. And then the wave clear means that Gen.G can get prio on objectives really easily when it comes to setting up later on for 3rd, 4th Dragon, Barons, Otacon. So while I think if you cover Gen.G's comp and you look at what G2 have, there's a lot of synergy here. It's not a great Trundle position. I think Gen.G, because the Trundle was picked so early, we're able to play around that incredibly well. Renekton, a similar story here. I think if Broken Blade can win the topside matchup, if there's some attention there and this Renekton becomes big early, then the Renekton can eventually just get on top of this Sivir, can be a big threat for Chovy's Azir. It's a lot of ifs, it's a lot of maybes here. And after the performance we saw from Gen.G in Game 1, I think they're pretty confident with this draft. They're going to close it out and head straight to the finals.
That's what they're looking to do. We'll see whether G2 can find some of that magic here as we load onto the Rift for the second game of the series. Do or die here for G2. We'll see whether their key can survive one more game or whether Gen.G are going to be crushing it on their way to the final against AL. And AL, they have been on a bit of a tear. They are no strangers to crushing the keys of LCK representatives. And Gen.G going to certainly have to study up before that one, but they do need to make sure that they dispatch of G2 in this second game first. And here we are onto the Rift for that second game. Maybe G2 can catch them napping. Maybe they've got a bit of a plan moving into this second game. We'll see. Otherwise, it's a date with T1 tomorrow in that best of 3 to decide who picks up the 3rd place. And that is an extra 70 grand. Wolf, like that's it's not small money that they'll be fighting for.
That's right. We do the big money at EWC, and we have a massive prize pool, and every single step up you go, the more you are going to get. Scheme on a Broken Blade here, playing aggressively at this level 1. Keen gets the ward onto the blue buff there of G2, so Vision traded across the map here. Duro and Ruler at the ready there in the bottom lane. We'll actually have the faster track. And it looks like that's just going to be now the 5-point starts to eventuate. Caps does obviously have stun at level 1, but I don't think they're going to look for a play here. And Gen.G just playfully letting G2 know that there ain't anything happening at level 1.
Ruler also giving us a bit of a history lesson, which is kind of cute. Of course, one of the JDG flares there, and then Samsung Galaxy. Kind of cute. Just, you know, the teams that he managed to pick up international titles on.
So they are going to try to utilize this extra pressure here that Gen.G has to relinquish with the level 1 Alistair to set up some vertical jungling here and invade for Skumon, as he is going to take away the blue buff here of Canyon. And Gen.G very well aware that this is happening, as we'll see what Canyon does respond with, since he is starting topside on that red buff. As Vision, of course, of Skumon's blue, so he made to simply cross, and we have that vertical jungle.
Lebrov not able to give that heal over to Hans Sommer, but I guess he was at full health, so he doesn't worry about it too much. Like we were saying, it is indeed just vertical jungling here between these two junglers. Skumon coming on over, though, and just feeling like he can do battle with Canyon, and he absolutely can. The chomp is so valuable.
Skumon really going to get a huge lead out of this. Canyon going to have to flash.
Yeah, Broken Blade looking for it. Does manage to vault break over the wall.
Okay, I thought he queued already, so he's fine. Doesn't have to flash. Still massive. And
no, it does not.
It's not over yet, because there's so much prio for Caps. So when Electrocute is pushing Chovy out of the lane, Canyon really in trouble here. And G2 playing around this early prio so incredibly well. They weren't able to make a level 1, happen to where they get a pick or anything like that, but they use that extra pressure to set up this vertical jungling and shut this Vi down, as now Canyon's looking to cross over into this quadrant here and take the red buff of Skumon.
Yep, spots the fact that Skumon is just going to stay towards that top side and take his red, so Canyon not going to be... well, actually, no, because Canyon started on his red. Never mind. So that red is not actually going to be consumed. It's the Krugs that are going to be the next one. So experience advantage still there for Skumon, but it's not going to be too much of a big deal. It's Canyon pathing exactly where he needed to there to make sure that he stays alongside him as far as camps are concerned. Nice little headbutt there from Duro. He's going to get a lot of damage onto Lebrov. Wasn't exactly hoping to be in that position, and now Canyon, possible gank angle as well. As there are flashes, everything else is available here as Canyon looks for the angle. Doesn't get too much, and there's the flash forward to block the Vault Breaker. Beautifully done. Duro gonna have to go in, make sure that he keeps his jungler alive and actually flashes out of the way. Really good play here from G2 to make sure that they're capitalizing on Scumon's early pathing.
Yeah, and Scumon should be able to turn this into a double scuttle if he wants to just run straight topside here. Might not want to look for more, but I don't think there's really an opportunity here, but grabs this bottom side one. Is going to try to force it. It's for the Scry.
Yeah.
Can turn this at least into some Gromp pressure as the wave crashes through. This is going to be really challenging to pull off, though. Duro doesn't have flash, but Ruler does have his and a barrier.
I mean, it's already a win for G2. I don't think they necessarily need to continue putting on
Canyon's
too much pressure.
here,
As Canyon is going to come on over. Does have the level 3 alongside Scumon as Duro goes in. The bottom lane are trying to rotate up. They should be able to get here. And Scumon will be able to secure that blue buff as well. Canyon continuing to be pretty far behind.
Yeah, 3 winning lanes will give you so much
It was the Gromp,
agency.
actually. The Gromp got uninterested. I need to identify which camps are being attacked.
That's fine. Gromp will go over to Canyon here, and Scumon will just go back over and take his Raptors. I thought perhaps he was just going to go straight through mid and go take that upper scuttle and look to clear the top side of the jungle, but decides to instead really put that pressure on. Pushing Ruler out of the lane is a big win. Even though they don't end up getting any kills, they don't get the Gromp. That pressure means something, as it's a 10 CS advantage here for Hansama, who has generated a lot of leads this tournament on Xayah from 2v2s, but this time playing through the fact that his jungle had that early control, playing through the Alistar early game. And then that leads to Caps getting mid lane prio right, and everything that's eventuated in this early game. Is Keen going to get all into here?
Yeah, Broken Blade looking for a bit of an angle, finds a nice trade. As Keen with the Darkened Blade is going to be able to even things out relatively nicely. And it's going to be trading CS here between these top laners. Scumon going to be able to get that double scuttle that you were talking about, as BB is going to be not pulled back by the Infernal Chains. Gets a nice Q to get that health bar back up again as ulti's traded here between these top laners, but BB's gives him a bit of extra health back alongside it, so it feels kind of nice to even just press the button even if nothing happens.
Yeah, that was a really good judgment there from Keen as well, knowing the level 6 was just around the corner. Even though they had 6 advantage, he knew that one extra minion was going to take it over, as here comes Scumon in the mid lane.
Yeah, back actually going to complete here from Chovy, as Duro doesn't have flash, but he does have legs. So that gets him out of there.
Sometimes that's all. He's also got a mouse and he's got a right-click button on it.
And a keyboard, baby. Worked real well.
And you will get away there, but it was a really nice timing trying to punish a potential split back. As TP is going to be committed here by Duro, and Hansama, I think, is just dead. He's got flash, but I don't know where he's going to go.
Yeah, looking to try.
Oh, the trade
here as he flashes forward, but there is a barrier available. Ruler is just going to burn down as Labrov gets the ignite off. A 1-for-1 trade, but it's probably going to be 1-for-2 here, unless tanking the turret is a little bit dangerous here for these guys. As Labrov, one more auto, but does get the knock up. It's 2 kills. Over to the support of G2. Never mind, one of them was in fact an execute. That's right. That's kind of unfortunate, but that is fine. Still good for G2.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's going to force the backs there, as Chovy is also going to fight Tibbers here.
Yeah, this is so unfair, isn't it? The
Caps,
1v2 in the mid lane.
Caps has done such a good job this tournament of knowing the timings where he can just punish someone who is teleportless and look for these aggressive trades, even though he doesn't have kill pressure. He's like, well, I mean, put you low, and I'm going to have this wave push. I'm going to force resources to come into the mid lane, and Scumon is looking for an aggressive play here topside.
And he's going to be able to take this red buff, I think, because Canyon, see how quickly he comes on over. Does get that E charged up, walks into this brush. Broken Blade, he's going to be able to get that first roam over. Chovy not exactly feeling too healthy here in this mid lane, so they decide not to go for any sort of contest.
Caps gets that sustain from the Honey Fruit. Will be able to come over here and look for another potential stun onto Chovy. Duro having to stay in this bottom lane, which means Ruler is just landing straight up here into Hansama on the bottom side of the map. We're going to go back to this play here again. Hansama's judgment in this moment is actually so incredible, because he's like, all right, I've got my feathers set. I have to kite back here. And Labrov is coming back over, right? Hansama knows, okay, got to flash this. We're going to go back to live.
Yeah, in the meantime, another fight is starting here as Hansama taking so much damage and didn't really have any way out. So he is just going to die. That is going to be a kill over to Ruler. He's finally on the board here in this game, and Kills evened out between the two squads, and in fact, the gold entirely evened out as well. Basically, 400 in it.
It won't just be a win for Gen G that doesn't have any return, as Skewmon will be able to start up those grubs. Has that topside prio there with Broken Blade, so they will be able to get, looks like, all 3 of those. So not the end of the world there. We're not entirely sure exactly how that eventuated, as we just saw Hansama getting engaged on there, obviously flashless from that previous play as we came out of the replay. But that's a big win for Ruler. Now pulls ahead in that bottom side matchup in terms of gold. 3 grubs. Do go over, as I mentioned.
Oh dear, cease and desist here in this mid lane as they pull the Annie out, and that is Feats of Warfare over to Gen G, and Chovy picking up his first. Well, gets back to taking plates. Oh dear, Canyon, this is a little greedy, isn't it? As Hansama and Lebrov move in, there's the quickness flash. They don't want to give him any way out, and you can understand exactly why. As the Vi goes down, Canyon punished immediately.
Just had no vision there, and obviously it just used his ultimate. Chovy just used his, so if anyone shows up, I don't know what he expected was going to happen, but I guess he found out. A lot of greed there from Canyon, and that's a massive swing back. Like the pendulum of the bottom lane gold just keeps swinging as they trade kills in these moments, and this is one of those moments for G2 where you're like, oh god, that was horrible, but at least they kind of tripped over their shoelaces right afterwards and we're right back in it. So for Gen G, very proactive play, but perhaps a bit too proactive in the aftermath.
Yep, a little bit of a blip coming on through there as Lebrov looks for a bit of an angle that didn't have the quickness, so Chovy not going to be too worried about it. And Caps here on the bottom side, just dealing with Ruler.
Second Drake is spawning here. Ruler is going to back away with the prio that Hansama rather has picked up in the mid lane. May see a big skirmish here over this that G2 can control to even up the dragons. Yep. Broken Blade doesn't have TP. Keen also had to trade that, so it would be a 4v4 at most.
Duro just playing with his Hex Flash, just enjoying himself.
Try to feather call back me.
Yeah.
I'd jump those.
I hold this wave, and he does definitely do that. Ruler cleaning up those minions pretty satisfyingly as the dragon is going to spawn. See who's going to be able to take it, and then we'll be able to see what kind of soul we're going to be looking at as well, as the Boomerang Blade doing a lot of damage here against Hansama. He's just wanting to hold this wave as best he can.
A little bit, of a, okay, hold up topside.
Yeah. Bit of a ruthless predator here is Broken Blade, but Keen weathering the storm quite nicely. See whether he's trying to trade back as Gen G, looking for a skirmish potentially here in the river. Ruler at full health, but Hansama looking to go aggressive as On the Hunt comes on in there. That spell shield just glorious, but it does mean that the root comes down from the Blade Caller. Hansama looking a little worse for wear, but Skewmon getting that pillar down, making sure that he knows exactly where Gen G is. Try and fight back. Teleport in from Caps top lane, wanting to punish Keen here, who does have his flash available, uses it to get out of the way, but Tibbers comes down, and there should be the burst damage available as never mind, Keen just umbrally dashes away. They should be able to get a fair bit of work done on this turret, but the Dragon should go over to Gen G.
That's Dragon, and I just don't think that's worth it here. You're going to pick up some additional gold, but it's split here between 2 players, and I think a lot of this was about the fact that Hansama and Lebrov's gambit there in the mid lane does not pay off, as trying to engage now onto Duro. We'll see how well this goes.
Yes, Skewmon taking a lot from just the Boomerang Blade there, as well as Ruler is doing anything that he wants. Does get the Subjugate off, and that is going to give him a bit of his health back, but already, even on one item, this Sivir is getting scary.
So when they looked for that play on the Ruler and he spell shielded the knockup, Hansama was already losing out in the mid lane, was significantly low, as this isn't done yet up here. Oh man, Caps. There's no ult for Canyon. Caps does not have flash though. He gets chained.
Well, everything kind of misses except for that Q2, and he's still, I think, going to be dead. Voltbreaker to finish him off, but Skewmon is going to kill Canyon. So a 1-for-1 is exactly what they were looking for on the side of G2. A little bit of a, I guess, overextension there from Gen G. Could have just let him get away.
This game is getting a little bit weird in terms of the constant hard forcing. We're not really playing the map. We're just playing see champion, kill champion a little bit. But I think we have to give credit to Skewmon and having a good read on what the points of attack here are for Gen G, because if he doesn't see that, if he's not towards the top side of the map there and Caps just dies for free, it's a disaster. I think it's still a big win here for Gen G, because Keen's going to get a Demolish proc here and pick up a ton of plate gold. Caps is pushed off the map, doesn't have TP, so at the end of the day, still a massive win. But, you've got to give credit where it's due. Could have been worse for Gen G, or for G2, excuse me, and maybe he sticks around a little bit too long here. Doesn't look like it.
No. Keen is not the one that's doing the overextending. That has been other members of Gen G, so he's just going to back away and play this one respectfully.
Like, every time G2 lose somewhere on the map, they're finding some angle, right? Like, Broken Blade picks up a little bit of plate gold. They got that split plate gold on the top side. You know, 4 out of those 5 plates do go over. That gold does stack up. Like, G2 have a gold lead in this game for sure. My issue is the fact that the farm here for Caps is very low. He doesn't have that much farm. You know, he's significantly behind Chovy here. This scaling Azir is going to do more damage in team fights. So the lead that G2 has right now is small, and that's problematic because they want it to be big. Is, oh boy, this
Empress
isn't it.
Divide delivers Broken Blade to the turret. He's down to 300, has to flash. And yeah, not exactly too happy about how this one's going, as another mid laner is going to get doped this time towards the top side of the map. The exhaust goes down onto Caps as Tibbers was trying to help out, but that is a successful dive. The world ending here as Chovy down to 200 here on the bottom side as Hansama is underneath the turret, manages to take down the Azir, and now Canyon will be falling as well. They overload the bot lane, and they get exactly what they want. G2,
Canyon.
Great play to answer as Canyon taking a while to die, but I just don't think Ruler's going to do anything.
He buys enough time here for Gen G to end up getting that topside turret. You have to imagine on this next wave, which will be first turret, which will give them feats of strength. So ultimately, again, a trade up for Gen G is Keen's just going to sit up here and go, well, Canyon trades his life for a kill, but I also get this turret. We also get Caps again. And it's these trades that look even, but I feel like Gen G is getting slightly the better of them in each and every time. It's not like a 1 step forward, 2 steps backward. It's like 1 step forward, 1.2 steps backward, but
it's like they're doing the June sand dance.
Yeah,
like, make sure the sandworms aren't coming over.
Exactly.
It's a bit confusing understanding where the legs are supposed to go.
But ultimately, you know, Gen G, it's not a lead to where this game is over by any means. Hansama is still massive in this one. But the map reads here have been pretty good for Gen G, and now with those additional stats from the feats of strength, looking for a potential Herald fight here. Gen G have Keen on the top side rotating over. Chovy also has TP and his ult coming back up.
Seen this one before as Broken Blade taking a lot of damage here on the return to his turret.
And they give it up.
Just getting angry.
And looking for another turret instead, saying Herald would get me that, but we'll just take it here instead and look for potential crocodiles. Lebrov's coming over for the defense.
Yeah, it's going to be a trade of some Qs, or at least a Q for a W as the exhaust goes down onto Canyon. They're going to try and burst him out, but he does create a lot of distance, and Duro comes in for the save. So Gen G, good defensive play this time around, and even a teleport going to be invested here as Keen really wants to hit someone.
Yeah, Caps
because he pressed a pretty important button.
Caps is like, all right, cool, he's out of here. I'm going to try to push as fast as I can on the top side and get a turret, and I think we should be okay down here on this bottom side. Good rotation here from G2.
Yeah, Duro actually canceling that one. Not sure about that, as the pillar is going to make things a bit uncomfortable, but Ruler's making his way over. Can Duro buy enough time? Is the Unbreakable Will finally going to get pressed? And Ruler does just say, get out of here. But still, like you were saying, that is the turret going down on the top side of the map. It is in trade for the bottom outer as well, so keeping things even on the side of Gen G. But speaking of even, it's down to a 300 gold advantage for Gen G.
I feel like on one hand, this game has been incredibly action-packed. We're already 12 kills in at 16, nearly 17 minutes in. But on the other hand, it's also been a thinking man's League of Legends game. It's been a macro game of trades constantly, both teams making the best decision possible. Again, I feel like Gen G has gotten slightly the better of G2 every time, but G2 are not going to roll it. They're not making any big mistakes. They're not actually overextending on one side of the map to where Gen G win on both sides. Like, they've always been able to get something back no matter what. And speaking of, now with the regroup there for Gen G, they're looking to actually take their first dragon of the game here. It will be a Cloud Drake. And unfortunately for Gen G, they're just not grouped up in any way to fight for this. And Duro's going to get pushed away. Chovy has TP, but
Duro doesn't have ult.
Side.
He's actually looking for a bit of an angle here to try and answer his, oh dear, yeah, Hansama going to be able to at least get an assist. I thought that they were going to try and leave him the kill, but the Drake goes over and a kill onto Duro.
Yeah.
His second of the game, and now Skumon doing that I'm in a walk at you thing, and now Ruler is just going to get eaten underneath the turret. Lebrov comes on over, and the flash, just a little bit unfortunate.
I think that's 100% worth.
So many angles. No, it's fantastic here for G2, as Caps is really, no, not dead. Keen gonna need another rumble
has to
dash if
flash,
he wants
I
to get
think.
over, and there is the flash to get himself out of there. Tibbers now fighting alongside as Chovy looking to make his way in. That's gonna make things more difficult here for G2. Slice and dice activated. And we'll
Hansama gets a turret.
out of it.
Now, I mean, before I was like, okay, G2 are not giving up things on both sides of the map. They're always matching. Now they're taking the driver's seat. They're 1,000 gold ahead.
man.
They win on both sides of the map. They end up shutting Chovy's push down top side. They get the dragon. Caps is able to flash away there on the bottom side. They get the play in mid. And yes, Skumon has to flash to kill Ruler, but Ruler uses both summoners, and Sivir's flash is way more valuable than a Trundle's in a situation like this. And G2 really pulling ahead after what was, kind of absorbing a lot of the pressure, a lot of the punches here from Gen.G, making all the right calls, waiting, biding their time for the right moment. And that right moment did occur as, once again, Duro in no man's land.
Yeah, he is going to be able to get a stun. There is the pushback on Lebrov, but he's just dead. Duro just misreading the state of the map right now. Things are certainly turning more in G2's favor.
I mean,
you cannot be pushed that far up.
Going into this series, I said Lebrov had a pretty good time against BLG, obviously, and we talked about Lebrov's improvements, but I told you, I don't know, man. I feel like the support diff might be big in this one. Like I was telling you before the broadcast, off stream, I think Duro's going to have his number, but in this game, absolutely not the case. Right now, Lebrov at almost 100% KP. Duro constantly caught, just aggressively trying to clear vision and find out these rotations from G2, but when Gen.G are behind on the tempo, which is rare for this team, mind you, since Duro has joined this incredible streak, he keeps getting punished, and G2 just get further ahead.
Oh, Caps now looking to clear out this minion wave, but there is a Keen looking for him. The World Ender coming on through as down goes Tibbers. That's a decent quickness there from Lebrov to buy some space as Keen's flashing for it. The heal comes in though, and Keen just unable to close the gap. Caps able to move himself back. They don't kill the Aatrox, which would have been nice, but they don't. He doesn't manage to get his jump.
Well, maybe they will.
Summer is looking for the angle. There's the flash forward. Keen wants to be able to do something, but he doesn't. And Hansama is going to get yet another one. The outplays here from G2 are fantastic
and now,
in the second game.
Now G2 just keep winning on both sides of the map here. They're going to have to get a teleport from the Alistair, look for a pick, and I don't think it's enough.
Yep, cease and desist coming on through there, and somehow Canyon actually lives. He flashes out of the way as Chovy gets the Sand Soldiers together, and this game is not over yet. Not if the Emperor of Shurima has anything to say about it. This inner turret eventually going to be falling as the trample will come on through, and Canyon gets the Vault Breaker and breaks the Annie with it.
Okay, well, it was a lot harder than I thought it was. It was successful, but it was still very hard. I thought it was going to be impossible. It was hard, but Gen.G still make it work. Duro ends up getting the TP in there. They end up getting the inner there in mid. Bottom side inner goes over and trade for only the top side inner for G2. And Gen.G strike back and will take a gold lead. Watching this again, I thought for sure this is a step too far, but with the combo of the Alistair here into the ult from Chovy, the flash to secure the kill, it's just the cherry on top there. It ends up being a win for for Gen.G. They follow there and get that kill onto Caps as well before his flash comes back up. And now it's 1,500, the gold lead for Gen.G. It's just the pendulum keeps swinging back and forth as now Gen.G are looking for an Otacon start here. The arm guard has been bought here for Chovy. Such a great timing here. His ult is coming back online as well, but not quite ready yet.
Yep, Broken Blade does spot out that this Otacon has been started. The pillar goes up, and let's see what G2 can get done here. It looks like they're not going to be able to get in. The Otacon is just down, and Gen.G will be able to secure it for themselves. Nothing lost on the side of G2 because they give this one up, and now they're just going to look for this outer turret towards this bottom side, try and get a cross map happening.
Yeah, Hansama should be able to get this turret here uncontested, so that's going to be some extra gold in his pocket. He has a very large lead over Ruler in the 80 carry matchup right now. Is looking for that IE purchase on his next back. He's got to be close to it. That's going to be a huge win for him as Caps actually has his flashback here. Could collapse onto Chovy.
Yeah, Chovy is worth a whole lot of money here as Canyon obviously shadowing as there is the quickness. Gets the charm onto Chovy, and the flash forward from Caps says, yes, we are killing this Azir, and they absolutely are. The redemption does come down. Caps doesn't get the heal, but he doesn't need it because he's out of there. Ruler throws the boomerang, but Caps sidesteps that one as well. A nimble little girl is this Annie. And now, oh my goodness, how did he live? Ruler going to get taken out. Hansama with the double, and G2, a perfect answer to Gen G. And like you say, this is just a pendulum between these squads
And
this game.
Gen G come for the play here, but they're just too slow. They're not set up as fast. They trickle through. Lebrov has gotten so much value out of this locket. It is absolutely insane. He then drops the redemption down as well. So watch this again. Caps is over the wall here, so has to rotate around. He ends up interacting with Canyon first. This means with the airborne here from Canyon with the charge Q, he has to flash for the kill. And it looks like, okay, it's going to be a trade, but then Locket comes through. Redemption comes through. Caps doesn't quite get hit by the healing, but everybody else does. And Broken Blade and Lebrov can peel. Lebrov gets a knock-up. That sidestep was beautiful from Caps. You mentioned it in the play-by-play. And Gen G overcommit, find themselves 2,000 gold behind.
Oh man, that was almost a pillar of death for Duro. He is able to walk far enough up in order to get out to safety. Is G2 keeping up this pressure as they take down this blue sentinel. Chovy, you could see adjusting his seating position.
I mean, right now,
making sure that he really locks in for this last half of the game.
So much of this game, Hansama has cleaned up these overextensions from Gen G. He's gotten the last hits of the kills, right? Like, he's gotten so much money from actually securing the kills, but we haven't seen him rip through Gen G in a straight-up front-to-back 5v5 that much this game. It's been so much skirmishing. It's been so much scrappy fighting where we haven't seen 10 players walk to a Dragon or a Baron and say, let's go. This is the fight for the objective, right? We haven't seen that gentleman's agreement type of fight yet this game, but because this Xayah is so massive and is so safe in this draft, Hansama, I feel like, has yet to play his biggest role in this game. He's just kind of been getting bigger for what is the big fight that G2 want to take to bring this to a third game, and that may happen in about 30 seconds time here as the Baron spawns. Gen G, faster group though, and they're going in.
Canyon just pulls the trigger. They look to take down Caps. He does manage to fall. The exhaust is so good onto Hansama, but now it's worn off. Can they actually take him down as Duro? He's going to be his target. The feather recoil is massive, and they couldn't do it. Hansama's a blender, and they just walked into it. Canyon, a very, very short vault breaker, and I think he is going to be going down here. The stride breaker, Skewmon didn't need to flash, but he did anyway because he felt like it, and the Baron spawns just in the nick of time.
Ruler wasn't there. 0 damage in the team fight. The 6,500 from Hansama. The charm from Lebrov, amazing there on the peel. They just cannot get on top of this Xayah. I mentioned Hansama had a role to play, but Gen G played right into his hands. 9 kills now on this Xayah. Watch the fight again as Caps is the initial target. Look at where Hansama is though. Miles away. Lebrov comes in, drops the redemption here, gets the charms and the knockups. Hansama ults here to avoid Duro, and they just cannot get close to him. Skewmon peels, Broken Blade comes in. It's a blender, as you said, and Hansama's damage just stacks up. Sure, you got the Annie, but you didn't get the real carry. You didn't get the big threats, and getting away from this Renekton Trundle is just not going to happen. And Ruler has to watch from the other side of the map as G2 look like they are going to bring this to 3.
It is looking like it. I just don't know what Gen G were really thinking. Maybe they thought that there was an angle and that there weren't all the members of G2 there around the blue buff that was taken. Teamfight damage absolutely gigantic, as we were talking about before, and Hansama didn't even need to flash in that last fight.
And his ult's almost back up. So good luck catching this guy again. Or, I mean, you didn't catch him last time. Good luck trying again, I should really say.
Yeah, Duro making use of the exhaust that he'd picked up with his unsealed spellbook, but it just didn't really do enough. And yes, he killed the Annie, but it doesn't even, it just makes Tibbers angry, you know? That's what it feels like. As once again, Ruler on the other side of the fight here as Gen G look to try and defend their inner turret. The Baron starting to stack up. A lot of extra money. Currently 1,600, but we'll see how much more it's going to be.
This is not the greatest sieging composition here for G2. Like, they need picks to really break open the base, as Ruler is playing Sivir and can clear these waves so incredibly quickly. The Xayah is low range, right? And they're still playing Annie. You're not pushing a Victor into the mid lane or anything like that. As speaking of Annie, he's going to try to annoy Keen here, but we'll shut down his push. But this is not the greatest Baron that we have seen in terms of damage just yet, as Lebrov is Gonna double down on
he's
that.
battle dancing. It's fine. He's just able to get himself out of there. As Keen may not be capable of the same thing. The Ruthless Predator has found him, and he is looking to sink his teeth in. The flash over the wall there from Keen will get him to relative safety, but now doesn't have that tool for the next fight.
I think Gen G are not happy with the game state, but I think they're pretty happy with the limited damage this Baron has actually done to them overall. You know, we saw a TP committed there from Duro. It was a bit absurd.
A weird angle that Canyon's found himself in.
Hansama does have flash and ult.
Yeah, Canyon being very, very patient.
Bye.
Ruler's just dead. Never mind. Maybe too patient. Maybe Ruler wasn't patient enough. I'm not entirely sure, but that was embarrassing. As now, Gen G looking to back away, not wanting to let any more fall. We've spoken about the Ruler position, Wolf. Maybe not so much this tournament, but that was an example of exactly what that is.
Yeah, that was potentially game losing here. I mean, the game was definitely in G2's hands, but I think that's the backbreaker. No more Sivir, no more wave clear. And G2, now the base is open. That's the first inhibitor to fall here. They will back away, try to grab a second. That bottom wave, though, is at the midway point, so there's no wave to crash through. Baron fades away, and they'll be happy to take a third Cloud Drake. That will be Cloud's sole point for them, but they have so much additional movement speed in this game to chase down targets.
I like the let's go Gen G, and then just the cover up the sorry G2. I like that. Respect where it's interesting. G2 having a phenomenal game too here. Brilliant bounce back.
Yeah, it's interesting that Caps is 1-5 this game. He's 1,200 gold behind Chovy, but I feel like in every Caps death, there has been a win for G2. You know what I mean? As Chovy is now dead, maybe.
Okay, this is a very weird one. Yeah, Chovy is extraordinarily dead. Couldn't even use his Zhonya's to keep himself alive. As G2 looking a little worse for wear, but not really too worried about it, as they will take down this inner turret and look for another inhibitor in mid. Still dead. This is going to be even more super minions to deal with. And G2, they are not overextending. They're not looking to try and end the game when they don't necessarily have a foolproof opportunity to do so. They are just taking away what they can, playing this as patiently as they can.
And going back to the early game, you know, like, we'll watch this moment here again. So this is a setup here from Canyon where he's trying to make sure Ruler can clear this wave, and then they could potentially look for the collapse, but they're just a little bit too desynced. And I think this was a greedy attempt, but when you're this far behind and when the Baron is pushing, you want to fish for stuff like this. Chovy ends up being caught. But I want to go back to some of the trades we talked about in the early macro game. Like, I feel like if G2 hadn't played the map as well as they did to keep the game as even as it was, this game would look very differently. And then Caps kept getting picked in sides, right? They focused him down so much. That's why he was 1-5, and now he's 2-5 after picking up the kill into Chovy. But his sacrifices were not in vain, and G2 stayed in the game. Hansama was able to clean up so many of the fights, punish Gen G so significantly that I just feel like there's no way back. And Ruler is dead again.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that was about, but he did face check.
He looks mad, too, on the player cam. He's frustrated. He did not want to play a 3-game series before potentially making it to the finals, and now he's probably worried about his path there. This game is all but over.
That face check looked like he really did want to play a 3-game series and wanted to get into game 3 as quickly as possible, Wolf. That's what it looked like to me, as G2 looking to take down the last remaining inhibitor turret. That is going to fall. Inhibitor soon to follow, as Gen G waiting underneath their Nexus turrets. G2 pushing forward. Tibber's getting aggressive. And G2 not pushing up more than they necessarily can, as Labrov, he can, because he's Rakan. And now Duro sneaking around for a little bit of an angle here. They don't really have the vision. The Baron's going to be up in 15 seconds. G2 looking to grab that before they push the rest of the way. Gen G not wanting to give up without a fight, as 1 second. Ruler is now up. So
playing around vision so well.
Once again.
Like, Gen G are like, I think maybe there's an angle here, but there just absolutely isn't. And now they buy enough time for this Baron to respawn. Double super minions across every lane means to get to the Baron is your toughest challenge, and they just simply will not be able to do it. Caps holds the line here. Super fast with his shield. He's just like shields himself and he's zooming. Wait until he gets that 4th Cloud Drake if the game goes that long. 2 minutes until that goes over. You drop a bear and just run across the finish line. As Ruler here just has no right to be here. Like, there's no vision. I
guess
it's
they
just
did
not
have,
allowed.
They had a wall of vision that he thought maybe was like there's no one here like we know, but like I don't think the wall was quite plugged enough. As G2 looking for a little bit of an angle here, as Canyon not allowed to take his Gromp. That is Skumons, unfortunately, for the Gen G players. And yeah, G2 just getting the waves in order, getting things pushed up. Hansama dealing with that bottom lane, and G2 not giving Gen G any ways back in.
Yeah, I mean, the Silver Wave Clear can do a lot for you, but it's not going to be your get out of jail free card here, but it is helping Gen G buy space for maybe one more attempt, one more flank fight, one more jump onto the carry. But Hansama's got flash and ult, so best of luck to our last LCK representative. I think Gen G is probably thinking about game 3. One more fight, one more chance.
Possible, but they'll need an absolute miracle. They want to hold on to this one, and I think they need to do it about 3 times.
I mean, Hansama's got GA. He's got level 18. There's no holes in this game plan.
Well, Keen going to ult and flash. Was looking to try and start something, but yeah, G2 take the invitation. They're just going to eviscerate Gen G. It's a double already for Hansama. Can it be back-to-back pentakills in this game? Is Canyon likely to be the 3rd for Hansama? Keen and Ruler standing near their fountain. Hansama well and truly legendary. I don't know whether the Nexus is going to last. It's a Quadra, and there it is, the back-to-back pentas. Game 1 and game 2 for both teams.
Hansama Xayah has been a terror at this tournament. But I gotta say, Atlas, when you think about Gen G, you think about their macro, how oppressive they are, and the lead that they had early. Most LCK teams can't go toe-to-toe with that. 90% of the time, our best LCK teams can't go toe-to-toe with that, but this G2 held their own, made the cross maps. This fight was the defining moment of the game where Hansama was just unpunished. Duro tried his best, look for the exhaust, look for the knockup, but he gets ulted, and it is just fighting into a choke point against this massive Xayah. G2 bringing us to 3, keeping the hope of the West alive here at EWC.
Yep, Gen G gonna have to play a 3rd one here as G2 battle back in this 2nd game. We'll see what happens after the break.
I stick with being a mid laner because I feel like it's the most impactful role of the game, and I feel like it's just the most legendary role of the game. For example, you think of Faker, now you think of Chovy.
So for me, I've always been playing mid lane. Ever since League came out, it's just a solo lane. It's also in the middle of the map, so that makes it fun.
因为我刚打劫的时候，可能玩中单的时候上轮比较快吧，然后可能中英雄玩的都比较好，所以就选了中单位置。
To be a mid laner is very important in terms of being a part of the game itself because you're in the middle, so you will always be involved in every play, and you need to make sure you help top, bot, and jungle as well.
因为中路是连接各个位置的，所以中单要打得很好。You have to be a strong laner if you want to play mid lane at a professional level very well. Because if you are losing prow often versus better mid laners, it's going to be very hard to play the game. So.
Mid lane kind of takes the role of like the 3rd jungle almost. Like you have the support as the 2nd jungler. The mid laner teams up with the support and jungle a lot of time and just roams either top or bot wherever they can be more impactful.
中单这位置练习，其实大部分还是打排位吧，然后还有训练赛，就多关注自己这位置的细节吧，就多看别人选手的路线。
Spam solo queue, get a lot of games in of playing the game, and of course watching better players or other professional players.
Scrim, and I watch VODs and I play solo queue, nothing that crazy. I just practice every day. I make sure if there's some matchups I don't know, I'm studying it, or I'm watching team fights, or I'm watching LCK, LPL all the time. So either that or I'm scrimming.
with my mind. Yeah. Oh, you can turn back time. Yeah.
And my goodness, the boys from Europe are finding their way. They kept it close throughout. And we're sitting in the audience being like, man, G2 are unable to shake them. They're unable to put them away, but we've seen them been able to punish mistakes. However, G2 did not make mistakes. They forced Gen G into bad plays in the top lane. That 5-0 changed the tide, and they are one win away from their first international finals since 2019. Welcome back, everyone. Degon here alongside Finn. It is the Valdanalist and Meteos after that last one. The West has life against the best team in the world, Finn.
It's just like a standout game from a lot of the players on G2. I feel like everyone just kind of stepped up. A lot of individual highlights created this game, and I feel like that's the only way G2 can compete with Gen G, because I feel like Gen G as a whole is stronger than G2. I can admit that, even as a G2 biased a little bit analyst. But I will say that I mean, G2 stepped up massively. Standout by Hansama, Labrovsky, even Broken Blade. I think so many people stepped up.
Now, we do have championship weekend this weekend. This next game is going to be who is going to be in the finals. So we do have an update from one of our other games from EWC. Let's send it on over to the Dota 2 stage.
Okay, I think I'm in the wrong venue. This looks like a lot smaller than the League of Legends venue.
Absolutely.
Over there.
Absolutely. Welcome, Fancy. You have wandered, yes, into the Dota 2 venue. League, but it is still here. Yes, indeed. Don't forget where you guys came from, all right? I know you guys are watching your league games right now and you're thinking to yourself, is there Dota 2, does that still exist? Yes. Yes, it does, my friends. EWC has asked me to convince you guys to stop watching League and watch our grand finals. And Fancy?
Why should I watch the grand finals of Dota?
Well, you're probably not going to. If you're a League of Legends fan and you're enjoying your game, you're probably not going to watch Dota. But I will try to convince you. Are you ready for this?
Go ahead.
Fancy.
I'm listening.
Our games last more than 20 minutes. Thoughts?
Our games last around 30 minutes.
30 minutes? Our games last 60 minutes. I'm not trying to tell you guys exactly. It is a gigantic waste of time.
What's up with your patch notes, though? Like,
we got plenty of patches.
Why?
We got plenty of patches. Yep. Do you want to know why? Because our game is actually balanced and it can survive for more than... I'm not gonna... They told me not to flame. I don't want to upset you guys. I know you League players have a lot of tasty windows to lick, so we're going to get through this really quick, all right? You guys enjoy your game. Better marketing. Just as much money. Very voluptuous heroes. We ain't got any of that. But if you guys want to grow up and come back home to us boomers, come on back to Dota. We're having our finals right now.
It's just been interesting to watch.
I'll go and sit down and watch.
That is so unfortunate. Guys, we're going to miss Fancy. Thanks a lot for watching. Goodbye, League fam. I'm coming for you one day. I'll be hosting one of these. Enjoy yourselves.
Thanks, Slacks, for trying to convince League players to watch Dota by comparing how long you last. That's a very convincing argument. Let's take a look at our series here, though. It is G2. It is Gen G, the reigning back-to-back MSI champions of the greatest esport in the world. And it was a fantastic game. G2 starting off not so great. It was Hansama getting ganked here, able to turn this one back around. Didn't look good. Gen G gonna dive and punish. However, Labrov plays this one perfectly here, Finn.
I mean, not even Labrov, the presence of mind of Hansama to kite not towards his tower, not towards the proposed safety, but to up in the lane, because he knows Labrov is in the river, and they actually managed to get that extended range on the dash and kind of trade one for one in the beginning there. Well played by Labrov as well, trading under tower, but for me, like, the standard there was Hansama. The presence of mind to know that walking towards the enemy base was the correct choice, that was impressive.
this was super hype that G2 won. I will say though, watching this, it felt like Gen G was for funning or something like that. It was the least Gen G looking game I've seen them play ever, especially from Canyon. This dude was the entire scoreboard for like the first 10 minutes of the game. He was just diving and trading 1-for-1 all over the place, which, I mean, it's awesome to watch, but I feel like that's not usually how they play. So it was definitely a departure from that, and it felt like they were playing more on G2's tempo, which was great for them.
Another update that I've been told currently, it is a new title winner over at MLBB Women's Invitational. It was Vitality winning 4-0 over Gaming Gladiators. Gaming Gladiators, the former C9 roster being signed under this, and the first Western team to make it to the finals of MLBB Women's. So congratulations to Team Vitality for this victory, picking up 1,000 EWC championship points, which is the dream of these two squads here in League of Legends, G2 and Gen G, if they can get themselves the win and get into the finals against AGAL. One more time, Team Vitality getting the victory 4-0 over Gaming Gladiators. All right, so we got to see one highlight here from Gen G and G2. Maybe we'll get to see a second one here from Gen G and G2. This one in the top lane, and this was the big moment where G2 were able to battle it back, and all of us in the green were freaking out here, Valdez.
Yeah, I mean, as Medius was talking about, it was a very back and forth kind of game because Gen G were certainly throwing it back and forth, and G2 were willing to go blow for blow. I mean, they love to play that kind of style, and Gen G took it one step too far. They tried to dive here in the top lane. Caps just broke their ankles, and Ruler wasn't able to get that kill.
With good angles, yeah.
Yes, had the angles, you know, it was actually pretty impressive. It just felt like G2 were playing really well, and all of those like hype trades we had early on just felt much better for G2, whereas it just looked like Gen G were getting tilted on the opposite side. So it was kind of like Gen G were playing G2's game, and G2 ran away with it.
Yeah, I love that, though. I love the way that you kind of break it down that way, as Gen G have been able to solve each team, and G2 just kept hanging on. And then maybe this was the fight that that would break it open for Gen G. However, take a look at your minimap. There's no Sivir here, Medios.
This was a crazy fight from Skewman. Gen G committed onto Caps, and one thing that I thought was super noteworthy was Caps kind of had a rough start to this game. He was, 0-3, 0-4, having trouble side laning, but he didn't build defensively at all. Sometimes you see Annies go for the, mask build or getting in early Zonias, and Caps just said, nah, I don't want any of that. I'm going to go Malignance, Shadow Flame, Storm Surge, just do as much damage as I can, because if I'm going to die anyway, I might as well, have a big Tibbers. So I thought it was cool that he opted to go that route. And then in that fight, we just saw Skewman was absolute beast. He just ulted the Aatrox, and he was just pretty much 1v3 in the backline, just beating everyone down, chomping them, and just doing so much damage while not dying.
Yeah, and then finally here, from the pro view, the eyes of the man himself, it was Hansama getting the unofficial penta here.
This is Steven Liv in his prime. Look at him, full build Saya. He is just a shredder. Anything that is within his auto attack range just dies within seconds. He is so strong. This game, I think, is on his back. He did so well in the early game, and I think he is rewarded with his beautiful unofficial pentakill to finish off the game. Just amazing play by him, and it feels really nostalgic seeing him on Saya, something that he was criticized for actually not being able to play just a few years ago, but now it is kind of his main champion and something internationally he's really relying on to secure G to these hard carry wins.
I mean, he was making the feathers kind of rain cats and dogs there, making sure it was all over the place and coming back to him. Hansama putting an exclamation point on this game number 2 as they've got the STC arena rocking here, and the G2 faithful, the Samurai, are just absolutely filled with hope. And I think the West, Europe, just filled with pride here, Finn, as we have 45 seconds before we head back to the stage. How you feeling?
I mean, I'm feeling optimistic. After game 1, I will say I was a little bit worried, but seeing now that G2 has it in them, they have the fire and they have the hope and the confidence to go blow for blow with Gen G. I believe they have what it takes to do it. G2 has reached international finals before. They can do it again. They can knock down Korea and make a non-Korean international finals happen.
All right, well, we will see what happens champions here on the line again. The last time that G2 made it to a finals of an international event was in 2019. 6 years later, can they write their name in the history books here at the EWC? Let's find out as we send it on over to Ian and Fancy.
We came expecting fireworks for this series, and this series has delivered. 1-for-1, one more game to the grand final spot. Gen.G fans, where you at?
They're there. But as Degon just said there on the desk, it's been a long time, 2019, since the G2 fans made it to an international grand final. And now they are just one game win away from making it to fight for the trophy. What do you think? Who's taking this? Is it G2?
Gen.G fans, let's show them what you got. One more time, Gen.G!
The G2 army is here, loud and proud. The players are sitting right here. They can hear you. G2, make some noise! This final game is worth $320,000 alone. And of course, that spot in the grand final against AGAL to fight for this trophy in the center of the stage. One game, one winner, one key crushed. It's Gen.G versus G2. Let's finish the fight.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Man, the crowd absolutely electric here for the final game between G2 and Gen.G. And last time around, I want to remind everyone, this series between G2 and Gen.G at MSI began with a victory for G2. This time, it began with a victory for Gen.G. After that first win, the other team, that team did not find hope in the series. Maybe that is going to repeat itself. Maybe Europe is going to have another representative in the grand final.
And, you know, Atlas, 2019, the last time G2 was in an international final was, I believe, the last time we didn't have an LCK team in an international final. And G2 might lock out the last of our 3 LCK teams here if they can win on red side this final game of our semifinals. Varus, Pantheon gone again. The Senna taken away here by Gen.G. Broken Blade won't get his hands on that Jax, and we'll see what this final ban is going to be here for G2. Interestingly, that Talia is still up.
Yeah, this is some eclectic bans to come through from Gen.G to start us off. It will mean that there will be a fair few things left up and available. Not the Aurora, though, which has seen a lot of success here at this tournament. And now, what is Keen going to be picking first? Lucian, just insta-locked.
Ruler wants revenge.
Yeah. And Ruler did not look very happy in that last game, both on the Rift and in the player cams. You can see very, very vocal right now. As Duro feeling a little bit stressed after that one. I mean, the butt gap was just massive. Ansama and Labrov had an absolute day out in that game number 2. The Zyra Khan has been great all tournament, but man, I haven't seen G2 perform as well as they did in that game 2 in a very long time. There is the Ezreal lockaway. Ezreal versus Lucian has been a tale as old as time here as Skewmon. What are we going to be taking away next?
I mean, some of the big mid picks right now are, you know, obviously the Victor that's still available. You know, you do have that Talia as an opportunity for if you're looking for a big pick-based composition and rotational power there. The Rise still available. So these are some high-prior picks. Now, I was wondering if they would look for the Karma here to just shut down this Lucian lane. This doesn't come without a cost, though. It will cost you a lot of engage potential. But we've already seen what Labrov could do with Locket, with the Redemption, and with the shields he has here. He might be able to bait Gen.G into some unfortunate fights once again, as we saw in Game 2. Yeah. A strong rotation here from G2, but not necessarily going to give us a ton of information about what this comp is going to look like just yet.
Well, Lucian Braum has been very, very common, something that has been pretty powerful, at least over in the LCK. I'm not psyched about Ezreal Karma. I feel like whenever I see it, it just feels lukewarm. You know? Doesn't make me excited.
It comes at a heavy cost, like I said, in terms of engage. I think it's going to do fine into the Lucian Braum, but the Braum and the Lucian will have a lot of value outside of the lane, as well as Xin Zhao actually going to be played way late in this series, down on B3 here of our third game of Fearless. Probably the latest we've seen this champ pick at this tournament. We'll see what the response will be here from Skewmond, as I think it will likely be his pick before we move into the second banning phase. So that's where things get really interesting, because the mid lane champions, there's a few of them left available, but they might all kind of get cut down.
Yeah,
Wukong comes to mind.
And it's going to be all solo lane bans, which is kind of crazy. We don't see this all that often. I feel like that puts red side in a little bit of an advantage, right? You finally
100%.
get to utilize the counter pick for top side, counter pick for mid lane, perhaps as well, depending on where G2 want to take it. Maybe it's just going to be a safe top lane choice. There's no Trundle. You can take Sion, something like that.
I feel really good about this Wukong pick because they needed some engage, because they have the Karma, and Karma also helps Wukong engage and is very strong with him when he is getting on top of multiple members there. The Victor I mentioned is gone now. We may see Ryze to follow.
Yeah, I think the Ryze is a big one.
You know, the Taliyah, also a strong pick that can work really well with both of these compositions and will impact side lanes quite substantially. Because if you ban the Ryze and the Taliyah is left open, then one team gets that massive global advantage. The Galio, also
Galio's a big one.
A really strong consideration. I feel like Galio is really good for G2's comp here, just simply because they already have the Wukong, they have the shielding from the Karma, they'll have the Galio shielding on top.
See what's going to happen here is this final ban, it feels like it's going to be Ryze, right? 18 seconds to go. See how long they're going to use to think about it. And is it just going to be Ornn and Sion? Get rid of the two tanks.
What if G2 just play Camille and look for insane lockdown in this composition? Camille Galio could be incredibly powerful if they get their hands on both. The Cho'Gath makes it seem a little bit less likely. Can potentially just bait the Sion ban with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was going to be a Sion ban anyway, but now it's really a Sion.
Yeah.
Unless there's a checkmate that they're thinking about, right? Maybe there's something that they wanted to get their hands on, maybe a Taliyah, for example. Taliyah Wukong has been very, very powerful, and they won't have the opportunity to ban that away unless there's going to be a largely unanswerable... okay, never mind. The Rumble going to be the decision here.
Really strong position here for G2 in this draft.
Oh, yeah.
The Rumble ban doesn't feel that powerful. Sure, there's no Ornn to answer, but that was your own choice.
Are you more scared of a Rumble or a Sion in this case? And I'd probably be more scared of the Sion, personally.
It is going to be a choice that G2 will make right now that will define this draft.
Well, it's a Sion. We kind of knew that was going to happen, so now the answer has to be there.
There's no Cho'Gath, there is no Rumble, there's no Jace to answer this pick right now, and it's just such a tough lane. And Sion is
Camille Galio. They just play Camille Galio.
But that's what I was mentioning earlier. It's
I was so tunneled on G2 playing Camille Galio.
It's kind of hard to play that into Wukong. it's not impossible, right? But it is tricky. I actually kind of prefer this. Because it has a little bit more of a safe engage path. The Camille can be shut down, can end up getting punished really hard. This is going to give you so much shielding, so much brawling power, and access to a backline at a larger range than a Camille can necessarily give you. And if you play the Galio, you're blind. They will play it.
Yep.
And we will see what the answer here for Caps ultimately eventuates to be. Could end up playing an AD pick here. That would make them extremely low on magic damage, but into this comp, I feel like that's okay, actually. With all the engage they already have at the front line, double AD carry could be strong. They could even go for like a Tristana pick here, and it would feel pretty solid for them. They've got a lot of reset potential. There's a lot of shielding. You can set up for those resets. But he is going to pivot over to the Syndra to look to try to command the lane. This is something that our analysts were asking for, talking about earlier, seeing these niche Caps picks come out that we're not really seeing any other mid laner play.
Well, these are your compositions. Chovy is very famous for his Galio play, but I feel like this comp doesn't have the same amount of cohesion that we've seen from others in Gen G's past. This on the side of G2, pretty stock standard. Team fighting composition, and I was worried about the lukewarm nature of the Karma, but like you're saying, the Syndra, a bit of fun here, can throw some orbs around. Broken Blade can be largely unkillable on that Scion, and Skumon, if he continues the form from game 2, it is going to be gigantic because this Wukong could really run away with the game.
They lost engage in their support, but they found it practically everywhere else in this draft. I do think that it's hard to generate a significant lead as Syndra into the Galio in lane, but you are always going to have that push. You are always going to be able to impact the jungle, and the mid-jungle synergy that we've seen from Skumon and Caps in their best games of this tournament has been tournament-defining for them, and maybe what actually sends them to this grand finals. I like their draft better, if I'm totally honest with you, Atlas.
I like it too, but I think that Lebrov was such a big part of G2 in game 2, and Karma just doesn't have agency, right? Like, you're not going to be making those big plays yet again, so the rest of G2 needs to step up. We're going to have another one of those incredible days like yesterday for BB, right, where he can really take the bull by the horns, make things happen. His on was so good. His Scion could be the same thing as we go into the deciding game. Remember, guys, Gen G have won 24 series in a row, and a lot of the last few went the distance, so it's not a surprise that they drop a game. It would be a surprise if they drop a series. We'll see whether G2 can be the first team to do that since road to the LCK Cup?
I think the LCK Cup finals against Hanwha Life was the last.
That was it.
In Game 5, when we were at that time praising Hanwha Life for the Game 1s and the Game 5s, how things have changed.
Indeed.
It's a long year of League of Legends, and some narratives feel like they'll last forever, but they don't last half the year. And for Gen G, they came into this tournament as massive favorites, MSI champions. The streak continued, an incredible resilient series against Hanwha Life Esports in the road to MSI. To fall here, I think, would shatter everyone's expectations, especially with what they've accomplished already even in this tournament. Sure, they'll drop the game to FlyQuest, but the drafts for Gen G and the play, if I'm being totally frank with everyone, and sure, I'm an LCK representative, so I hold them to a higher standard. I think a lot of people hasn't lived up to the elite Gen G macro, hasn't lived up to the oppression that Finn was talking about, that we had one of our G2 managers talking about on the desk for the pre-show. And we're going to have to see some of that Gen G magic here in this final game if we're going to bring it back, because I feel like there are so many tools and ways to get on top of this incredibly low-range composition here for Gen G. Like, Ruler already had a tough time in the previous game. In this game, there's, so many threats. You're going to have to deal with the Wukong potentially get on top of you. Broken Blade can flank you. You have to deal with the Scatter the Weaks. And the follow-up is just so easy for an Ezreal.
Yeah. And this lane, not going to be easy. Of course, lane swaps exist, and so that will help Gen G here, but the early laning phase is going to be very rough against Ezreal Karma. They are known for being able to shove in the lanes. I think similar things can be said here for this mid lane as well. Broken Blade also going to have a fair bit of control on the top side, so I think eyes are going to be glued to the jungle to see whether Canyon can put out some of these fires.
One of the reasons why Syndra was so meta for so long was because she, if you look back to like 2021 where she was almost permanently first picked, is because she wins a lot of matchups by default, especially with the range advantage she has, the consistent poke she can layer in. There were so many 80 matchups where you had to help string her into this pick just because she's so strong. She was a Corki counter pick for a long time with the old AP damage Corki, the burst package variant. And you can see here already into the Galio, like, Chovy just can't really do anything. It's somewhat reminiscent of when Chovy was playing to the best of his ability that Smolder into the Yone, right? It's just a tough matchup to play out, so you're going to have that perma-prio. The Ezreal Karma they drafted early into the Lucian is going to have that prio, and Sion's a brick wall. So G2 have a lot of early game control.
Well, let's see what Canyon can get done here. Looking for an early gank onto Caps. They can get a flash, it's a big deal, and they do manage to get it. Can they get more as the Scatter of the Week is so good? Wind becomes lightning, no dive here for Canyon. They're going to be happy with a flash, a return gank. A very scary thing here now for G2.
Very, very powerful. Keen going to sidestep and do a little bit of damage there.
Now going to be able to take a cannon as well. Made me nervous just for a couple of moments, but is able to lock that one down. Obviously, the most important thing on the Rift is getting as many cannons as you can.
You can see Skumon has taken a bit of a lead, obviously, because he didn't go for a gank in terms of the farm, and now could potentially look for a gank here onto Chovy, who is flashless. He has red buff as well. Chovy not being very respectful here. Okay, it does back away now. Skumon not quite able to path over fast enough. If he's just a little bit quicker, maybe there is an angle there, but we'll just try to look for a tri-brush wraparound. Sees there's no ward there, but there is one outside of the pit. Heal's already dropped.
Both of them are going to be invested here into this attempted play, but I think Gen.G had a bit of an idea as to what was going to be happening, so not going to be allowing that one to eventuate in much at all, as Broken Blade continuing to take a lot of aggression here from Keen. This Ambessa play has been some of the most aggressive that we've seen so far this tournament.
Yeah, and it's really hard to generate a lead like this on a Scion. Scion is just so tanky. It sits back, grasps, so hard to kill. Skumon heading over here as Broken Blade's trying to bait.
Yeah, I feel like...
But there's a ward.
Yeah, I feel like Keen is not going to bite off more than he can chew, and with that ward there, certainly going to be able to make all of the right choices, knowing exactly where this Wukong is. So Keen will be able to get the shove, and the teleport is going to bring Broken Blade immediately back in. Does have that red rock and a cloth armor, so he's going to be absolutely fine. As Duro coming forward, shows them the door up close. And the flash to come on through here, not able to break those chains, is now Ruler in point-blank range. But Labrov gets into the fog of war, and Hans Sommer is able to answer back. So Gen.G looking worse for her after that trade.
Yeah, interestingly, lethal tempo here for Hans Sommer on this Ezreal. Not the most common rune choice here, but is going to be fantastic if you keep trading like that and continue those extended fights. That's going to force them back as Duro will lose his flash, but it's a trade. And so a fairly even one at that. G2 getting the better of them, but it won't amount to too much. Keen is going to head towards that bottom lane now as that lane swap goes towards the top side. And finally, Ruler can breathe.
All right. Caps and Chovy facing off here in the mid lane. And we'll see what's going to happen. No flashes available, but we can also see what's happening around EWC as well, as it is the championship weekend, and the MLBB Women's Invitational has just concluded their grand final winners. Team Vitality, and they clean sweep Gaming Gladiators 4-0.
Congrats to Vitality.
Yeah, that puts Vitality actually at 1,500 points as well in the club championship as well. But we've got a fight here towards the top side of the map as Arula is rooted, and Canyon, we're going to pay a visit as well. That is just going to buy some space for the Gen.G bottom lane, just trying to keep themselves in it. You can see about 11 CS behind, something like that here for Arula. And they are just sort of licking their wounds, trying to get what they can in this difficult matchup. As Chovy, yeah, like you say, could be in a little bit of trouble here as he sidesteps the scat of the week, finds the taunt onto Skumon eventually. Caps does avoid it, but more of these orbs just sidestepped gloriously by Chovy here.
I mean,
PC Wolf, I think.
For some people, Chovying means just getting a lot of farm and CC. And sitting in a side lane, you know, that's kind of what the Hanwha Life Esports Chovying moniker was. But for me, it's Chovying meaning something like this, like generating a significant lane lead as Galio into Syndra, into First Strike Syndra, and having Perma Prio and forcing jungle resources in this matchup, sidestepping scatters like that, and just walking out like it doesn't matter, like he saw it coming 2 minutes in advance. That, to me, is what Chovying means.
He really did just not get hit by most of the stuff.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, I already saw this coming. Yeah, it's whatever.
Uh-huh. Well, that's what it is. You just need to be a bit clairvoyant, I guess, is maybe the way. As G2 feeling like maybe there's going to be a gank on the way, but this wave is in a little bit of an unfortunate position. 3v3 as Canyon makes his way out. Labrov gets audaciously charged, but the Cyclone comes on in. That's a fantastic Crescent Guard, and First Blood goes over to Ruler. It will be answered immediately as Skumon takes him down, and Canyon not going to be diving the turret just yet. So First Blood is going to come in as Keen. That was a bit of a surprise. Public execution, and Hans Sama lying on the floor in the blink of an eye.
Keen sneaked all the way through the middle of the map. I was watching him rotate up. He pushed the bottom wave, came over with the prio that Chovy had, and walked all the way in. They continue to exchange there in the top side of the map to make it look like a juicy opportunity for Hans Sama to continue to chase. It gets caught by the end of the public execution, and now Canyon is going to be able to take all of these grubs. Ult comes through here for Broken Blade, doesn't have TP, can come over here and clear up this wave, but man, what a play there from Keen.
Let's check it out one more time.
Coming over here at the initial part of this fight, like the Wukong ultimate is so powerful, but it is completely denied. Ruler does eventually get collapsed on here. It's a trade of kills, and that's the TP that comes up here from Keen. Gets into this, they bait this over.
Meanwhile, in live, Ruler in a little bit of trouble here as Hans Sama just needs a little bit more. There is the Galio to come down, and the last Mystic Shot misses. And so Ruler is left alive. Gen.G still need to invest a fair bit into this one, and G2 are taking a Dragon in the meantime. Man, that was so close to an extra kill, evening things out there for G2.
That was very, very close, but unfortunately not quite enough. Ruler will get lucky this time as he's avoiding that last shot. Does survive, losing only barrier but not flash. I feel pretty good about it.
I feel like this lane is so incredibly important for Gen.G here today. As Keen, he's either going to be not able to do anything to Broken Blade, and Broken Blade's just going to do that thing where he's Scion and he's immovable, or he can run away with the matchup, and then Broken Blade has nothing that he can really do about this Ambassador in his side lane.
I mean, the fact that he is able to control it on the bottom side of the map there and then TP over to take out Hans Sama with a really nicely placed ult. You know, you get those advantages, allows you to have a lot more freedom over the map just in general. Chovy is going to eat this Mystic Shot, but sees Labrov and thinks about going back.
Yeah. Presses the Inspire button, gets a bit excited about the fact that Chovy used that Justice Punch a little bit too aggressively, and he sidesteps a Mystic Shot to buy time for that Justice Punch cooldown to come back again, and Chovy's not going to be dying just yet. But control of the wave, certainly here, the tempo certainly available here for G2 on the bottom side of the map.
Bit of a rotation over here from Caps as well, as Chovy is super low. They want to try to turn this into something more.
Teleport available here for Chovy as well. So Skewmon going to make his way in. Cap's going to steal the Bramble back. And there is that teleport that we were talking about. The smite from Canyon is going to take his red. And Chovy, with that teleport, is going to make sure that there is no further aggression.
That was a bit of a scary situation there on both sides. That play looked like it was going to be on the knife's edge. The Force of Will there from Caps pulls it out, but Canyon says, I don't care. That's the end of that fight. If there's an overextension there from Gen.G, though, or if a single member gets caught out by a scatter from Caps and gets blown up by his ultimate, could have been a huge angle for the side of G2, but instead it's still a very even game here. Hans Sama now the target as they look for a potential dive.
Yeah, the flash forward from Duro, but he misses. And the teleport is going to make sure that Hans Sama stays alive. Duro shows them the door, and he will make it out. But bit of egg on the face of the newest player of Gen.G. I say newest, came in at the same time as Ruler, but Ruler still had many, many years on this org, so I'm going to say newest.
I think that's still correct.
Yeah, I think it makes somewhat sense.
I mean, it's a big win for Gen.G though, because they got the TP out of Broken Blade. Now it's the ult top side. Are they going to get the punish here onto Keen? I don't think so.
Yeah, the public execution comes down. Nimbus Strike is the last of the gap closed there for Skewmon as the train comes out of the station, and Keen walking back into this lane. In comes Broken Blade.
I mean, that's a lot of damage, actually. I feel like what could have been worse here for the side of G2 kind of works out because Skewmon did that. Now, he doesn't have his ultimate here or this skirmish.
Yeah, moving over. Wind Becomes Lightning doesn't quite land, but there's the flash taunt as Caps is the target. Skewmon doesn't have any buttons left because he just used them to try and take down Keen in the top lane. And the heroic entrance is going to try and get the knock-up, gets the flash out instead, as now Broken Blade is inside the Thunderdome and he's flashing, looking for the angle. Canyon needs to keep hitting if he wants to stay alive, and he does so. Labrov is booking it to this top lane and gets the flash out from Canyon. There is a root on to Keen. He has to flash to get out of the way of the Q, and Duro is going to turn up as well. Everyone's making their way in, and it's G2 that are starting to lie on the floor. Broken Blade is going to get stunned up as these concussive blows are so dangerous if they get layered one after the other. And the Zombie Scion will be ignored as Gen.G win the fight.
Caps teleports top lane will only get minions. Gen.G are out of there. The ways that these fights can go if things go just a little bit differently is crazy. It's been an incredibly volatile game, but Gen.G keep getting the better of G2. Started off with some teleport shenanigans. The ultimate being down for Skumon means it's pretty illegal for Caps to be out here, though, in this river. It's a good good flash, though, but Chovy is able to match it and set up the taunt here. He's able to get his ultimate off, which puts Canyon low, and then G2, they're like, well, we've got to force this, right? Chovy looks for the ult here, gets the knockup. Unfortunately for him, only on the clone, but Broken Blade flashes here, looks for the extra shield explosion damage, but Canyon barely gets out. Lebrov flashes for the mantra Q. Canyon avoids it, looks for the root here onto Keen. Knockup just barely avoided by Keen on the flash. I mean, these margins are razor thin, but it's just not enough, and Gen G come over and clean up houses. Caps is unable to TP in until it's too late.
And it's like, it feels like whoever counted flashes better in the previous engagements were the ones that were the benefactors of this, because it was so many flashes invested just to make sure that this went Gen G's way. The answers were always there. Caps flashes immediately afterwards. Chovy is flashing away. They get Skumon's flash, and then Canyon knows that he can then flash away from the Wukong because he can't get in there. It's ridiculous, the dominoes that have to fall in order to make sure that these fights are clean. And Gen G now with the first big lead of this game to the tune of about 2,000. That's only extended here as Keen gets the first turret
as well as beats
the game. Exactly right. So that's going to be some cool shoes that they put together.
G2,
this is going to be second Drake though for G2.
Let's see what the soul is, because this could be quite significant. Okay, it's going to be Infernal. That is big. So G2 fans should at least be able to feel good about the possibility of what happens if they can get a few more of these dragons. The game state is definitely Gen G favored, but that's something you've got at least in your back pocket for later on if you can win some of these big objective fights with your comp that has a lot of great CC here. As this game has just been hands checking non-stop. As you said, flash counting. Lebrov.
Yeah. It's a little bit dangerous here as Canyon walks forward, doesn't find the wind becomes lightning, is Keen just looking for that public execution angle.
And now the Rift Herald in control of Gen G. And, you know, you look at Caps, he doesn't have TP. Broken Blade doesn't have Prio. And unfortunately, I think Gen G, or unfortunately for G2, Gen G is just going to get this one for free. See a bit of a wraparound here, but it will be spotted on a ward, and Chovy just has enough mobility to get out of here.
Oh, Chovy going to get knocked back there by the Scat of the Week, but just decides he wants to channel a taunt, and Lebrov not going to do too much damage. So Rift Herald going to go over to Canyon. And now Keen playing pretty aggressive here towards his top side against the one-item Broken Blade. When the Black Cleaver comes in for Keen, that's when even Broken Blade has to be scared of the damage this Ambassador is going to be doing.
The Keen lane dominance that we have seen this game just continues. It gets tougher and tougher.
I mean, Keen is not, he does not want to lose this series,
no.
this tournament.
He's the one who was talking about how
so well.
It really impacted him that they lost so early last year.
Yeah.
And he was not able to lift that trophy.
And they were the favorites coming into last year's EWC as well. This was, you know, Gen G coming off an extraordinarily dominant spring split back then. And this is the same story, but finally actually living up to it here in Riyadh. As Lebrov fighting against Duro and Ruler here. As Hansama looking a bit worse for wear at the back end of it.
Herald drop
to be dropped here in the mid lane.
They're going to clear this wave and look for the collapse onto this turret. May force a reaction out of Skumon.
Fair bit of damage to this turret as well. They might be able to take this one down. Full mini wave is there, and full grubs, or actually a couple of the grubs, but still able to take that one down. So very nicely done here by Gen G, keeping the pressure up.
They're just not even going to let go of that pressure, forcing Skumon back here. Ruler looking for the all-in.
I don't know about that one, as Ruler needs to be blocked there by Duro. A bit of a trust fall, I guess, into the mid lane to make sure that Duro was paying attention. And now Lebrov going to be fighting against Canyon. There's a heroic entrance just to scatter G2 to the wind. The taunt to come down. Connects onto a clone and Lebrov. Lebrov might be the target that they're looking for, but G2 do make their way out. And Gen G will back off as well. But you can see, with how far up Gen G are pushed, they still have so much tempo right now.
I mean, he still had flash and barrier. He's just playing on the tightrope here. Skumon wants that angle. He just isn't going to find it. Keen rotates over here. True shot.
Okay, Keen flashing, get himself out of the way, ults, and doesn't find anything but the air, and will keep himself alive. It was an awkward scenario. Now Cap's in a little bit of trouble as a turret is taken down by Chovy, who is definitely not here, by the way. He's got a teleport available as everyone is so low. The scout of the week is going to take down Duro as Kane executes Caps before going down. That looked absolutely insane. And
this game is just
playing right on the edge, Wolf.
It's just a hands game. It's just mechanics. It's just raw mechanics. And it started out as an unfair fight because Gen G had so much control over the mid wave. They took out the mid turret. They had vision control. But G2 said, if you're going to be greedy, we will match you at every turn. It ultimately ends up being a trade that Ruler had flash and barrier, and he was not afraid to use them there. Ultimately, the game state here is still favoring Gen G, but it is just so incredibly close. Keen sidestepping, at least attempting to, still gets hit by the barrage. Uses his ultimate here to try to avoid the scatter of the weak, to use the unstoppable, but still ends up taking too much damage. But is he afraid? No. Canyon goes back in, gets the shield here out of Lebrov. Then Ruler tries to go for this play here. Gets rooted, has his barrier, flashes the scatter. Keen goes in, like a madman, barely gets the shield to both secure a kill and allow the rest of his team to retreat. And you can see it on Caps' face. It's so close. It's always so close. And it's just a slight trade up for Gen G, and the Gen G fans, until the last moment there, weren't sure if they liked it.
Yeah, there was a lot of apprehension from everyone. You can see, though, Chovy did 0 damage. He was on the bottom side of the map, trading up for Gen G. So the Gen G fans probably not feeling too bad after the outcome there of that one. And I'm not going to praise Keen ever again, because he did some weird stuff in that strength wrap around there.
If he hits the, stops the scatter with the unstoppable there, you know, or is able to...
Duro was an absolute hero, though, eating the entire unleashed power, and that's going to make Caps' life really difficult. We haven't spoken about it just yet, but the fact that the Unbreakable can stop those orbs, the one-shot potential of this Syndra needs to be carefully mediated, you could say. But now, standing behind Broken Blade, public execution is private. From Keen, unfortunately.
Certainly a whiff on that one as G2. Remember, this is Infernal Soul point for them. They have the choke point controlled, trying to clear this vision.
Arcane Shift from Ansama gets him to relative safety as Gen G feeling like they have control of the mid lane. G2 in a little bit of an unfortunate position is into the backline, goes Keen delivering a gargoyle. It gets a knock up onto Skewmond, but down goes Keen to start this up. The taunt is so good. The Winds of War only onto Lebrov though, and there is the culling to take down Skewmond. And now the Gen G freight train is a-rolling, and they're looking for Broken Blade. The Dragon still up and available. Gen G looking worse for wear as Hansama, exactly right, looking to try and do some of this cleanup.
5,000 damage nearly on Hansama in this exchange. So bold, never afraid to look for those E's forward to maximize the damage. The Crescent Guard is down, and G2 start up the Dragon. Chovy's back though with the TP, and G2 are going to think better of it. They already have a 2 Drake lead. They're down 3,000 gold. If they threw this fight, gave the Dragon and kills to Gen G, it would certainly spell their end in this tournament, despite it being so close, despite that pick onto Keen. Canyon being that second front line is just a bit too much, as Keen making some crazy attempts on this one. This guy is afraid of nothing.
The sidestep from Caps was amazing there, actually.
He's just so fed in this game that he's like, I can kind of just go forward, and I trust that my team will back me up in every scenario. And it also knows in this fight as well, Hansama takes very little damage. A lot of the damage is front-loaded onto Lebrov when we do see that collapse in. In live, by the way, though, might have a fight here in just a moment. Either way, Keen is the one who gets focused down. Hansama doesn't end up taking that damage. He gets taunted, but again, the focus goes on the Lebrov. Winds of War here, not really hitting Hansama, so Chovy is pushed out. Caps maximizing his damage here, hits the scatter to prevent follow-up here. Broken Blade has to back out here with the flash, but the Gen G are like, okay, we don't have that Crescent Guard anymore. Hansama is coming for us. They back away, and you have to imagine in live we're going to be setting up for this one again.
Yeah. Did have so much damage done by Hansama. I tell you what, this has been an unbelievable tournament for this man.
I mean, he's just, the guy is just, when he gets a lead, he knows exactly which fights to take. His positioning has been so phenomenal. I mean, we've seen him very rarely get punished or get caught. He plays these safe champions like the Xayah, like the Ezreal, but he still walks the line. You know, he stands just on the edge of safety to maximize damage.
And the way Ezreal looks good is how well you play aggressively with the fact that you have so many good defensive tools, right? And Hansama showed us exactly that in that last fight, pushing back Canyon, almost managing to find a bit of an angle there, make sure that they only lost Skewmon. They did lose the Dragon, but it's not end of the world. And G2 certainly still in this one. As Ruler and Duro in position in this mid lane, just playing a bit of that K-Ram, as we like to call it. I think it was an NA Ram at some point as well, and I've never heard it be described as a European one, so that's a bit of a shame. But
Ram?
Yeah, it doesn't feel good, does it?
No,
not really great. We'll see whether maybe Digon and the gang have got something for us on that front. Maybe Finn knows. Maybe Finn has like something that they say about being in mid too long.
It is a Scion and a Syndra, so it's just kind of how it goes in terms of you want to be grouped in the mid lane or you want to be 4-1ing at best so you can...
And as number goes up, right? And as these numbers go up, G2 are going to be feeling better. As Labrov goes down, though, they're going to be feeling worse as Keen does break the tether. But he's very scary, and I think I would have had a little bit of a heart attack as well if I had have found a Keen in that brush.
Well, I mean, for Gen G, they end up pushing Labrov away. Asta now back, so there's a window here to potentially start up this Otacon. Chovy doesn't have TP, but he has his ultimate available, and I think that's enough.
Yeah, they just saw him go home.
Now, Hansama can rotate over faster. He and Broken Blade have control of the mid lane, but they have to be quick. They have to be fast here as Cap's trying to offer poke, but it's not enough. LeBron running over as fast as he can, and this fight is about to break out.
Yep, this Galio can be here at a moment's notice as well. You can see Broken Blade is trying to deal with him, but he needs to get there as well. As Canyon looking for the angle, there's the public execution as Keen will just decimate Hansama. They'll try to take down Skumond as well, I'll correct myself, as he does make it out, but the Otacon is going to be secured here by Gen G. Caps all out of mana actually, and not with too many options either, as that was a cute little Q over the wall from Broken Blade, but he's not really able to do anything. The prize is already claimed here for Gen G, and they're only extending that lead.
Keen playing so fearlessly this game. We've seen quite a few of those public executions whiff, not at the mark, but this one certainly did, as Chovy looking for more here is going to get rooted, but there's just not enough damage. There's no Cyclone anymore. There's no Ezreal here, and he is going to walk away scot-free, but G2, we're so close for looking for the punish there. The block from Duro as well onto Hansama's True Shot Barrage really limits a lot of that initial damage they were looking for. Gen G fans, I feel so scared, so terrified that maybe this final LCK rep could have gotten knocked out. The draft was so good here for G2, but they have taken full control over this game now. Hansama quite blast coning his way in here, but we'll drop the True Shot Barrage right into Duro's block, which also blocks the scatter. And then the instant follow-up, the second those cooldowns are down, Keen's like, I'll go in, we take out Hansama, target selection is perfect here. Chovy blocks any sort of follow-up. And because Caps is playing Syndra, he's more utility, he's more setup. He's just not going to be able to offer enough damage here to challenge once that Ezreal's gone.
Oh my goodness, the fans so incredibly passionate. And Gen G looking on the cusp, and I can't help thinking back to what you were talking about before. The fact that our LCK representatives haven't shown the clean, crisp gameplay that we've gotten used to so far this tournament, I think until this game, where Gen G have decided, oh, well, G2, they gave us a run for our money in game 2. We're going to have to give them the best.
It's the almost like angry Gen G game 3, where they focus up, the clutch is there, and it's confidence that we're seeing in spades, especially from Keen, but Ruler as well, who I feel like has a lot to prove after that last game 2 loss. Now chasing Broken Blade away here.
We'll see whether Gen G can actually find an angle, as of course we're fighting over this dragon that's going to be up in 10 seconds time. G2 desperately trying to get some position back on this map because Gen G are suffocating them out of their own jungle right now. And there is just no red vision outside of a little bit towards that top side to try and protect against a Baron sneak. There is not much more here.
Gen G get it for free. Now, they were down 2 dragons, so it is going to be only their second of the game, but those stats are so relevant when you start getting those percentage-based...
Infernals, man? Oh, God.
Percentage-based ADAP adding up so much, and if you get a third one plus the soul itself, I mean, this Lucian hits so hard. Even Chovy's Qs are going to be massive later on. And there's just no side lane angle. Like, yeah, they push mid, they don't get anything, but they get the dragon, and it's not like, oh, that Syndra's pushing that top. Not really. It's a Syndra. You know, she can't actually threaten the cross, and then Chovy just slowly goes up and answers as Keen demolishes this Scion, makes the Scion look like he's made out of aluminum in this game, just denting him over and over and over, bending him to Keen's will, and Broken Blade feeling broken in this one. And a Baron attempt.
Yeah, a little bit of a stun on a Chovy. I was about to say nice stun, but it almost did a damage, so I guess it's almost there. Unfortunately, Chovy pretty tanky as well, sitting on 2 items. Riftmaker relatively recently completed. We'll see what he's going to put together now.
I mean, the Baron start and turn for Gen.G is so incredible, especially now that Chovy has level 16. He gets before this back. We'll pick up an additional item and head straight over. There's a little bit of vision that needs to be cleared here. That one control ward actually cleared by G2 as they replace with Labrov. There's one there in the pit. Once Gen.G clear that up, they could start to look to push this Baron in. And without vision, it's hard to play this Syndra comp. You know, it's hard to engage. They have a Wukong, so steals are possible, right? But winning a fight, that just sounds out of the question at this point.
And getting to the pit is what I feel like is going to be the most difficult part, because Gen.G, I don't think they really want to start something up with all 5 people grouped up, right? They want to start something with 2 people and have 3 ready to kill whoever's trying to face check. And that's what they've been doing when they've built leads like this in the past. As Chovy goes over to take this minion wave, and we'll be able to get this top lane pushing forward as well. G2 given a little bit of respite as they clear out some vision around this Baron. So at least that isn't going to be snuck for now. But still, G2 on the back foot, well and truly. 4,000 gold is the approximate lead, but it's the fact that Arakan is there. There's a couple of grubs. There's the cool shoes. There's a lot that's putting Gen.G even further ahead than it might look as far as the money is concerned.
Chovy in such a good position to deny any entry. That vision we were talking about moments before is now completely cleared. Keen looking for a great trade here. Can TP into the Baron pit at any point, really without any fear of Broken Blade interrupting him. Only can just dash away and channel that one up. You see some first strike gold keep stacking up here for Caps, piece by piece, little by little. With this Cosmic Drive build here, he's got the Void Staff, but like you said, getting to the pit, getting to the fight, much less winning it, just is impossible here for G2.
It's feeling difficult, but they're not going to go for a 50-50. It will be Canyon just backing away, looking to secure that blue buff. Still on that bottom side, Broken Blade, I believe, was losing out on another trade, but as you can see with the health bars, they're actually looking kind of okay for Broken Blade here, holding his own.
I mean, at this point, Gen.G are just backing away, resetting, grabbing items, pushing waves, and they're just going to do it again. And if they can keep just stalling this out, because the Baron is tough to take, it's relatively high health, obviously. They can stall it out and then just turn their eyes to Dragon, then they get a 3rd Infernal Drake. And for Gen.G right now, the name of the game is just not to lose your lead and continue to stack up gold on this Lucian and Ambessa. GA completed now for Keen. Means you have to kill him twice if you're going to win the fight. And Chovy makes it tough enough already. Locket online for Duro.
Like, yeah, the Owl Guard is a big deal as well for Chovy. The fact that he can dive in on top. Hopefully he presses it this time around as Labrov.
Chovy on the flank.
So much, yeah. Chovy looking for that taunt angle, gets it onto Hansama. The immediate follow-up with the public execution. They do get the chain CC onto Keen, but he then gets the shield from Chovy on this Galio. The double taunt comes in now. Caps with the scat of the week. Canyon taking a fair bit of damage, but he has the Crescent Guard to stay safe. No one dead just yet, though. This could be good for G2, but now another taunt to come forward. Keen following up, and Hansama is finally executed. Canyon finds the knock up. There's the Q as well from Duro to make sure he goes down. The clone is executed as well, but G2 lose both of their damage dealers, and now Gen.G can take whatever they want.
Hansama's greed is finally punished there. We talked about how he walks the tightrope, how he walks the edge of these fights, maximizing damage. I think he thought he was for sure scot-free on this one to go back in there, and he's caught by a hiding, lurking Chovy taunt. Down summoners, no way out. He was able to fight his way back with Flash E and Cleanse the last time, but the second time he's caught, he is not so lucky. As this situation here for G2 is so incredibly difficult to play. Hansama is on a ward. He's not aware of it, right? Chovy wraps all the way around. He's already used his E, right? Taunts, cleanses it, gets caught here by Keen, flashes back. His team peels for him, right? The Cyclone comes out, and he survives. That in itself is a huge feat here that GT are able to keep him alive. Cap's now trying to peel. True Sharp Barrage with the Empowered W takes half of Ruler's health out, and then it looks playable here for Hansama until Hide on Bush, Part 2. Chovy comes in, flash taunts. The Ezreal has no mobility, no summoners, and wins the fight. Really big double taunt plays. You know, Chovy goes around the wraparound, gets sums on the second time of asking, takes out the carry for G2, wins the fight, and gets them Baron.
There's a very happy Arnold there as well, as Gen.G managed to win that one out, but that was so extraordinarily close. The whole start of that fight is, in the meantime, Keen is going to have to be altered here by Chovy to stay alive. The unleashed power there from Caps doing a lot of work. And the scat of the week going to get sidestepped once again. Ruler side laning here on this Lucian. So Gen.G not actually looking to start off any fights, just looking to buy space for this Lucian to take down the turret. This is looking dangerous though, as he is moving further and further into the enemy base. There's scat of the week. Ruler taking so much damage. Duro is going to be set up as Skumon gets the flash out of this Lucian, and then he just culls him where he stands. Gen.G just feeling too far ahead this time, and Ruler baits them to overextend. Hansama is going to fall down, and I think that last play was the backbreaker, and Gen.G just walk all over them here.
Ruler has his flash, nearly as IE as his fourth item. He just does so much damage. If you don't kill him instantly, he will just kill each and every member of G2 and kill their chances of another final appearance. They were so close, but Gen.G say no cigar. They will take game 3. They will be LCK's finalist representatives. They will make it to the finals they never got to see in 2024.
Yeah, last time they were dispatched extraordinarily early on. This time they go the whole way. They remain undefeated in series as well, putting that number at 25, which is absolutely unheard of. On the other hand, G2 had a phenomenal performance here today. We'll see them again to take on T1 tomorrow in our third place match.
And what a cool finals we have.
Oh,
Atlas. Gen.G beat T1, who beat AL in knockouts for MSI, but didn't beat them directly, right?
Yep.
This time they have to actually challenge them. They brought T1 so close at MSI and then were able to defeat them very one-sidedly, as they seem to have leveled up since MSI. And this is going to be a really tough opponent for Gen.G. And for G2, they played it so close. And Hansama, sure, he got caught by that last Chovy taunt, but I think he should be insanely proud with his performance he had all tournament long. The guy deserves your praise.
Oh, he absolutely does. I mean, those team fights in this game were at the level that we've seen in LCK finals very recently, right? There were so many moments that were on a knife's edge. If Duro didn't have the door ready to block Caps' ultimate, so many of these moments where they knew exactly what they needed to do on the side of Gen.G, and they absolutely had to, because G2 pushed them to the limit. Really, really beautifully done. And we've seen Gen.G versus G2 in the past. It's been heartbreak on both sides. More recently, Gen.G has got the better of them, but it's great to see that G2 can bring those fights. And now we've got Ian alongside with Chovy to crush a key.
What a semi-final it was here for League of Legends at the Esports World Cup. I'm standing by with Chovy of Gen.G. Just secured their place in the grand final. We will talk about your opponents shortly. But first, let's reflect on that series with G2. You started so strong. Even yourself, you got a pentakill. You made it look easy. But then they really fought back and gave you a different fight from game 2 onwards.
일단 초비 선수 승리 축하드리고요. 첫 번째로 드릴 질문은 굉장히 좀 압도적인 경기력으로 또 펜탈키까지 드시면서 1세트를 정말 압도적으로 승리를 하셨는데 2세트 때부터 좀 달라지기 시작했어요. 그래서 G2와 또 혈전을 치르시게 됐는데 G2와의 경기에 대해서 좀 어떻게 평가하시나요?
일단 아무래도 좀 G2가 잘하면서 혈전을 벌인 장면도 있는데 저희가 기본적으로 인원 분배나 턴 분배를 좀 잘 못한 것 같아서 이런 부분을 잘 보완하면 될 것 같아요.
Yeah, I mean, obviously G2 put up a great fight, but I think we made a mistake on some of the team fights or even some of the placements on the teams. So I think we'll have to fix on that.
You are literally 1 week removed from becoming MSI champions. This time last week, you raised the trophy. You had an MVP performance. How do you not let the success go to your head?
이제 지난주까지만 해도 MSI에서 우승하시고 또 MVP까지 받으시면서 어떻게 보면 정말 최고의 순간을 계속해서 보내셨는데 그럼에도 불구하고 이렇게 최고에 올라온 만큼 계속해서 이걸 유지해야 된다는 좀 부담감이 있지는 않으셨는지 궁금합니다.
일단 뭐 이렇게 높이까지 올라왔는데 유지해야 한다는 부담감보다 그냥 당연히 잘해야 한다라고 생각을 해서 별로 부담은 안 되고 그냥 해야 할 일 하는 것 같습니다.
I'm focusing more on what I have to do right now. more than a pressure of being at the top. So I think that's what motivates me more.
Let's look at what you have to do right now. I think maybe yourself, many of the viewers and the fans woke up this morning expecting T1 to make it into the grand final to give us an MSI rematch. That's not the case. You'll be up against AGAL. Can you beat them in a best of 5 and why?
이제 많은 시청자분들도 그렇고 많은 분들이 이제 T1과의 결승 리매치를 좀 기대를 하고 계셨을 텐데 예상과는 다르게 좀 AGAL과의 이제 오전제 승부가 기다리고 있습니다. 그래서 AGAL과의 오전제 승부에서 좀 승리할 자신이 있으신지 그리고 승리할 자신이 있다면 왜인지 궁금합니다.
일단 당연히 승리할 자신이 있고 그냥 뭐 승리할 자신의 이유가 뭐 긴 말 필요 없이 저희가 이미 이겨봤고 또 저희는 MSI 우승도 했기 때문에 저희가 충분히 잘하면 이길 수 있다고 생각합니다.
Yeah, of course. I'm really confident because I'm not going to say it long. It's because we are the better team. We have won them before, and pretty sure we're going to do it our best, and we're going to bring us to the trophy.
They're chanting MVP over here just before we crush a key. You are on a sensational run of form. Your fans have traveled from all over the world to watch. Gen G fans, make some noise for this man right now. Do you want to crush G2's key?
G2 키를 부수러 가시겠습니까?
알겠습니다.
Let's go.
Let's go indeed. Gen G book their spot in yet another grand final. This is the brutal part of EWC. Europe's last hope crashes out. Their key crushed along with them. It's time to say goodbye to G2.
Hey everyone, this is the post-game interview of Gen G versus G2. Caps, you guys were one game away from taking the series from the MSI winners. So what went wrong in that game 3?
I think we had a decent start for sure. We ended up getting the first breaks. They were getting a little bit ahead in goal, but I think the third dragon is really where they took the edge. I think it was looking as well decent to start off with. We had a lot of control, but then they just found a good flank, and from there it felt a bit harder to contest them.
And of course, going into EWC, a lot of people on the internet and fans in general have been saying that G2 had this glow up. So how would you reflect on your own personal growth and G2's growth as a whole?
I mean, I'm definitely happy with what we have improved, like the way we improved. I think the way we play is definitely more competitive now than it was at MSI. I think we kind of just sat back and waited to lose. Today we still lost, but we at least tried to fight our way. And especially game 2, we also found a lot of angles, and especially Hans was popping up.
You guys aren't out just quite yet, because tomorrow we will have our third place decider between G2 and T1. So how are you looking forward towards that matchup?
Yeah, I mean, definitely would have preferred the final, but I can hear from the crowd that we're looking for a third place finish. So we will look to win.
Thank you. And we have a lot of fans from G2 at the Riyadh Arena. So do you have anything to say to them?
I mean, a big thank you guys for the support. It means so much. Like, I was quite sad after the loss, but seeing all of you guys definitely brings me up. And after this, I'm ready for tomorrow.
Thank you for the support, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow, Caps, and back to you guys at the desk.
Thank you so much, Kitty, as we had 4 post-game interviews with 4 of the best mid laners in the world. That last one, you hear the main man for G2 trying to get them back 6 years in the making to an international final and falls just a couple of team fights short. Caps and G2 should be proud with the way that they fought, but they ran into the indomitable force that is Chovy and Gen G. A 2-1 victory going the way of the LCK side. The back-to-back MSI champions have an opportunity to etch their name in the history books here at the EWC as game winners of 2025 against AGAL, and it was scrappy. The angles were angling, and still Gen G came out on top as it was just a fight after fight after fight, and so close every time.
It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking because I feel like the longer the series went on, the more I saw what G2 is so good at, the more I saw what G2 is known for, and the more I saw G2 evolve. I feel like they were pushing Gen G in a lot of the aspects of the game, but Gen G is just that team that no matter how hard they get pushed, they remain their composure, and they just stand so proud and calmly at the top in the terms of the macro game. Like, I feel like they were just, despite whatever punches G2 were throwing at them, they just blocked them, and sure, they lost a few fights here and there, but solid performances all across the board. I think Chovy and Keen had a massive game 3 here, just so strong performances by those two.
Yeah, it was pretty insane what they were able to do here in Game 3. They generally stay pretty strong. I was a little bit worried about that Game 2, right, where I feel like their mental did definitely fall off pretty sharply. I do wonder what that means for the finals tomorrow, the best of 5 up against AGAL, who look like maybe the favorites at this point. It's kind of hard to tell just because of the 2 different matchups, but that's definitely going to be exciting for Gen G versus AGAL. Good closeout here for Gen G. It got a little bit dicey. G2 were still fighting back the entire game, even from behind, so props to them.
Yeah, let's take a look at some of the big moments from that last game. Highlight number 1 in the top side of the river. Things looked like it was going good to start, and Gen G able to come out on top. The flash engage there onto Caps, giving over first blood.
This was such a tough fight for Caps because he'd actually been doing a really good job. I think playing in a mobile mage up against something like Sinjao Galio is a lot of pressure because you pretty much have to hit every stun perfectly and flash at the right time. He did a pretty good job avoiding ganks early on, but this one he just didn't quite get the stun on Sinjao, and he ended up going down, which then led to a pretty uncoordinated fight by G2 where they just got ran down and got really behind.
Felt like they were trying to salvage it for so long, the fight kind of starts with Caps getting caught and flashes out, Chovy follows the flash. I think that's fine, but G2 was like, I want to kill you now. They really tried to salvage play and they just kind of put them in a worse and worse position, and I feel like that desperation kind of shined through a little bit. If they remained a little bit more composed, maybe this wouldn't be as bad as it turned out.
I mean, it was close. I mean, Canyon was slivering away with just a sliver of HP. And then here comes Lebrov with ranged, empowered Q for Karma. It was just great matadoring for the side of Gen G, but they weren't done yet. Here at 23 minutes near Otacon, this was our next big fight on the top side of the map.
Yeah, this one was a big one. I mean, Gen G were getting pretty shredded on this, but I love how they keep the health right at 3,000. They're just waiting for their moment to pounce, because this is what this comp does. The Mbessa's so far ahead, very tanky, gets the Galio right on top, and Ansama just gets caught. Not much that he could do. I mean, there were a lot of times the casters were talking about how he was in the front. He was trying to layer damage. He was trying to really control the pace of this game and get the team back, but it ended up at the end of the day just him getting caught multiple times.
Yeah, and we'd seen multiple different attempts, I would say, by Keen on the Mbesta to find the ults, and this time just threads the needle right into the middle, the heart of G2, straight onto Hansama on the Ezreal. And then finally, these fights are just going to be replayed over and over again, how close it was in the mid lane.
I love the way Gen G played these fights. I'm always a big fan of these dive comps, especially when it's not, just pressing R and going. They do it in multiple steps, right? They first get the Galio taunt to Ezreal to get his cleanse, and then they kite back, and then Chovy waits on the side, and he sees the perfect moment to re-engage. He's on a pink ward. He knows they don't see him. Hans doesn't have his sums, and so they're just able to go back in again, and it's just such a beautiful thing to watch. I don't think many teams can pull off this kind of team fight, and Gen G, that's what makes them so good.
Yeah, and it's that moment from the player that you want to step up in the big moments. Chovy seeing the angle while the rest of the team, the health bars were less than G2's. G2's was approaching and looking for the scatter of the week that would send shockwaves around the world. And Chovy says, not so that fast, my friend. I have a play up my sleeve, and it's going to cost you the game. So great stuff here as Gen G get themselves a win and now move on to the grand finals against AGAL, a big matchup between the LCK and the LPL for title of Esports World Cup League of Legends game winner in 2025. It also means we have our third place matchup. Still a great one. G2 versus T1, one that we love to see time and time again here, Finn.
This is kind of an old rivalry that is getting a little bit reignited now. I think it started back in 2019 where G2 back-to-back denied T1 on the international stage, and then T1, of course, these last couple of years have had G2's numbers usually when they played, and I think it's a really good chance for this G2 roster to kind of show that they can keep this up. This was not a one-time thing where they contested Gen G, and even against T1, I want to see them not only individually match them, but I would love to see them try to match them on the map movements. I really think this is a great test for G2 if they manage to show a good performance against T1 in the lower final. That would be a great moment for them to be able to return to Europe with a lot of confidence with.
Yeah, definitely would be pretty fun to see that happen. I do think it's a good opportunity to do it as well. I don't think that T1 looked great today, so seeing what G2 can do tomorrow will be pretty awesome. Definitely very curious about that final as well, as there are a lot of great reactions. We remember this fight where it was in the mid lane, everybody was super low on HP, and Gen G just kept going back in. They're always limit testing, but somehow getting away with it. I think a little bit of what Meteos was touching on a bit before. Just understanding how to space, when to go back in, when to go back out, and making the fans a little bit scared.
They're just so good at that style, and I would love to hear the comms for them in these team fights, because it doesn't seem like something that one person can orchestrate, like go in, go out. It seems like everyone just kind of has to be on the same page, have that intuition and game sense to know when you need to back out, when you need to re-engage. So I would think it's super cool to see that executed well.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Meteos. I don't think this is like things that are getting called. This is like in terms of experience with playing it with each other and 5 people seeing the game in the same way. Sometimes, like, if 4 people try to back it, but one guy's like, oh, I want to fight there, and he goes in, that kind of ruins the entire moment, but they're all so on the same page, and I'm pretty sure if we turn into those comms, there's not that much being said. It's not very hectic. It's just like, oh, we kite back a little bit, and then Chovy, like, walks into focus and I think when Ezreal ease forward, he's just like, I turn, and then everyone just bounces on that. And I think it's just beautiful League of Legends that Gen G is playing and pulling off right now.
And it's easy to forget that Skumon and Labrov are brand new pieces to this G2 rosters. Maybe not in their career, but working together. And for them to make it this far after faltering in the LEC, after faltering over at MSI, is a huge building block, and not done yet. The opportunity to play against the reigning world champions gets a little bit more experience for them to add under the belt as they return back to the LEC. Now, MLBB Women's Invitational. Team Vitality clean sweeps Gaming Gladiators 4-0 and are the MLBB Women's Invitational champions. Vitality moved to 1,500 points in the club championship standings and are currently second place, as Gen G just jumped them, sitting in at 1,500 points, which is breaking news. Team Vitality are active in another game title this week, Free Fire, meaning they have an opportunity to get another 1,000 points on the board there. The club championship rankings presented by STC now are updated with the victory and the frame ceremony into the totem. We will see Gen G on top, 1550. Just slightly ahead there of Team Vitality, but we know that Gen G has the opportunity for even more points in this game, and Team Vitality has the opportunity as well in Free Fire. That's not all that we have yet for today. Dota 2 finals happening right now, Amazon Esports Arena. As all eyes will turn to the Amazon Esports Arena and the Dota 2 final. As Team Falcons face Team Spirit, Team Falcons will leapfrog Team Vitality and Gen G in the standings. If they win there, you can head on over to that stream and hop into the Old Man League of Legends, which is Dota, Team Spirit versus Team Vitality. Now it's time for our Sony MVP of the day. You know, we had a discussion here. Could have been very easily been Tarzan, but it also could be Flandre back-to-back as he goes in the top lane.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, there are so many candidates in that series. That domination of AJAL we saw versus T1 today, but that Yorick performance in Game 2 was just massive. Also in Game 1 with the Aurora, I think he was just so dominant in the lane and all the team fights. He was kind of the main force to be reckoned with in AJAL, and him working together with Tarzan. I mean, I think it's a duo award. Them together really should be the winners of this, but yeah, just so good to see this man still performing in the international stage and proving people that he is not a tank player that you just put on weak side. He is someone with strong mechanics that is capable of playing these carry champions, and you need to put some respect on his name.
I'm really excited to see the matchup tomorrow of Flandre versus Keen. I think both of them have been having an incredible tournament. They look so good in the top lane, and it's a lane where, you know, you don't usually go even with your opponent. Usually one person will get a huge lead if they play well. So yeah, something to look forward to.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a lot of fun. The jungle matchup also should be fantastic. That Yorick we saw, as you were talking about, Finn, was just incredible, as this is the schedule for tomorrow.
Yeah, it is a best-of-3 third-place match for championship points on the line for T1 and G2, as well as prize pool money. And then the big one, it will be a new title winner here in League of Legends. Will it be the Champion Slayer, AGAL, or will it be Gen G adding more silverware to their trophy case here in 2025? You won't want to miss tomorrow's action. We're going to leave you with the Kadia top plays of the day. But on behalf of everyone here at the Esports World Cup, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you bright and early for Championship Sunday.
Got the phones out. Watch where I sleep and where I roll around. Guess I'm gone now. They ain't even there when it goes down. It's a playground, better watch your man's getting safe out. See some play game like snakes and ladder. My ex-piss come on, new one's better. It's a playground, better watch your man's getting safe out. See some play game like snakes and ladder. My ex-piss come on, new one's better. My new one's bad, that's my baby. He let me shine and never shady. Girl, same cute, but that don't faze me. If you ask him, then he say he got a queen and that she crazy. Please never play me. He said, please never break me. He's switching station to Mercedes, thinking that it faze me. I can love you for the dark and all my days, but you just never break me. It's a playground, better watch your man's getting safe out. See some play game like snakes and ladder. My ex-piss got my new one's better. Playground, better watch your man's getting safe out. See some play game like snakes and ladder. My ex-piss got my new one's better. Playground, bitches got a ring and feel it's safe now. They see a pretty bird and but I don't wanna cage out. It's a playground.